Welcome, everybody, to our podcast, Spirit of Build, where we share a drink with the people behind car culture. I'm Earl Han, joined by my producer, Hoeun Kim.
How's it going?
I didn't even ask you, motherfucker. But why do you think people want to know, like, how it's going with you? That's very presumptive. Anyways, this week we had Simbarashe Nyemba as our guest. A couple of notes about Simbarashe that I don't know if I covered during the interview, but Simbarashe is originally from Zimbabwe, which we do cover, but his name means hand of God in, I think, Zimbabwean or whatever language they speak there, which I think is super cool. But I also wanted to make fun of him and ask him why he's not so good at drifting. Because if he's got God hands, why is his car control not godlike? But to be fair, he's gotten a lot better since I originally met him. And, he came up with the final bout with, Phil and Ilya. So, maybe they do have a little bit of God's hands working for them. Not that I'm religious or anything.
What did you think about my viewpoint in our podcast content in regards to just like adding a bit more like general car content on like sprinkle on top?
I think that's fine. I just didn't know how to integrate it. I actually want to do that, but I also want to let people know about the person more than the fucking car, because the car information is everywhere out there. It's already out there.
I feel like a good way to like sort of integrate that the two is because I think it's the fact that they're all car guys to begin with.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I feel like we could even like questions like.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it should necessarily be the focus of this show. I think that should be better suited for, like, say, YouTube, if we get big enough, or we could just do this as YouTube or a second podcast.
Aren't you already putting this up on YouTube?
Yeah, but like, I mean, in person, like when we can go back to events and see the cars in person.
Right. But
because then we can just do it in person and it's just a completely different feel.
What I'm saying is that when I was listening to the first episode with Phil, it was great. It was entertaining, but after a while, the Phil episode was great, and Simba episode was great too. But then I feel like Simba episode had a lot more of, that person, this person, that time, doing this, that with those people. I felt like
too much insider information.
Yeah, I couldn't really connect to those parts because one, I guess I'm seeing it from a person who's never been through the whole, Club FR phase, and I understand that that's the main story, and I don't want to detract from that either.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you bring that up.
But I feel like like Simba's take on, let's say, like if someone like a garage, or like even let's say like Nissan themselves, all of a sudden hypothetically said, we're gonna bring our S platform back. It's gonna be electric, but we're gonna try to penetrate the drifted market. With it, that it's I don't. It's a hypothetical, but it's an interesting hypothetical.
Well, here's another hypothetical. I got into like a debate with Lee Roto, another guy from Proceed, one of Simba's teammates, about what makes a car exciting, because I don't think Teslas are exciting. I think they excite a certain demographic, and that's fine. It's just I'm not a part of that demo. And so I said, like, ultimately, what is the goal of electric cars or alternative fuels? It's to reduce carbon emissions, right? It's not ultimately about efficiency. So I'm saying, if ultimately the goal of electric cars is to reduce carbon emissions, why can't we have manual electric cars? And then Lee went on a rant and like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's inefficient. It's stupid. It's the old way. And I said, that, you know what? You're right. It is all those things, but it doesn't mean there's not a market for that.
It's a very interesting question. And I feel like we could see a little bit of glimpse of insight from the Porsche Taycan or Taycan or Taycan. How do you say it?
I don't fucking.
But Taycan has 2-speed transmission.
Yeah,
And
the Tesla Roadster has a 2-speed transmission, I think.
the new one that's coming, right? Or are
Yeah.
you talking about the original one?
No, the new one.
Okay. So like I feel like there is a sense, like, you know, like I guess us, you know, automotive enthusiasts, you know, we have this like when you're driving and you're I mean, it's irrelevant to electric cars, but you know, when you're off at the, you know, almost at the red line and you shift, whether manual or automatic or whatever the fuck, right? DCT, when you shift and you get another life of the whole RPM gauge that you could just go through, it's, you know, that moment is exciting, right? It's part of the experience. And I feel like I haven't driven the Taycan, but like a lot of the reviews that I've read, they're talking about that actually having that switch, you know, where you go, there's like whole rush of torque, and there was like gear switch, and you get a whole nother rush of torque. It's, even if it's inefficient from like the completely like an efficiency standpoint, like point of view, it makes the car a little bit more interesting and a little bit more exciting.
Here's the other thing. So there's a practical reason on why you put a 2-speed transmission or a multi-speed transmission on an electric motor.
Top speed.
Exactly, because you run out of gearing. Because like even electric motors have an RPM limit to what they spin to. So in order to get a torque multiplier, you have to add a second gear in another gear ratio. So again, if you're just using that train of thought, why don't you just have a multi-speed gearbox in an electric car?
I mean, we may not need 6 speeds. Well, we could. Why not use like 3 speeds?
Yeah, and then just like having a paddle shift is manual technically, right? Like I have to pull the trigger.
User controlled shift.
Sure.
How about that?
I mean, technically, you could do it a 3-pedal too, and just make the third pedal like a solenoid, so it's not physically connected to anything. So you have to engage it though to pull the lever to do an H pattern. Do you know what I'm saying? These are all physical. These are all possibilities. What do you think you do when you play a simulator?
Yeah,
you're not actually shifting a transmission.
You're right,
but you can actually shift the transmission.
And the whole notion of, you know, essentially a pointless third pedal,
right?
But it enhances the experience. You know,
and you don't have to use it because it's still electric and it's still technically automatic.
It's like pumped in audio. It's completely unnecessary, but you know, it enhances the user experience.
Exactly. And you know, I don't know if Ford's thinking about this, to be honest. But I know like the CEO Jim Farley he's a big race car guy. So if anyone's gonna do it, I think Ford could potentially do it. So that is kind of like exciting in the back of my head, you know.
Bring back the spirit of GT40.
Kind of. I mean, I don't know, like, but like I'm saying, like these electric, just because like Tesla has built one version of an electric car, doesn't mean everyone has to follow that version.
In fact, I feel like the electric car market would thrive further if there are differentiations.
Exactly. That's why
more options is always great.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, okay? Like I don't know if I should be saying this, but fuck it. So
you could always edit it out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I work for Ford, just in case anyone listening doesn't understand what I do. I work for Ford. I am the lead systems engineer for the Magnaride damping system for Ford. And if you're not familiar with that is, it's the magnetorheological dampers. But basically, anytime you read anything about the Ford Mach-E GT Performance Edition, you're going to see that that's a big thing that they always mention of what separates the Performance Edition from the regular GT. So what it is like an electronically controlled damper or shock absorber. So what that means is like if you hit a bump in the road, the computer knows it, so it can adjust accordingly and knows what to do with it, basically. That's the layman's way to explain what I do.
Well, but then what happens when they detect a bump? Like what happens to the suspension that's unique to Magnaride?
What it does unique is nothing to other damper systems, adaptive damper systems, in the fact that it'll make the softer for a bump or stiffer for a pothole, so your tire doesn't fall in the wheel or whatever. So in that aspect, like there's nothing special that does. But what is special is that it uses electromagnetism to use to control the shock absorbers. So there's no physical parts. So it's a lot simpler of a system. It's a lot more efficient. It's a lot faster responding. So the performance is better, you know.
Conceptually, is it similar to any other magnetized electromagnetical?
They're the only ones in town because they own the patents.
Really?
Yeah.
But hasn't like GM had like something to do with electromagnets in their
So
suspension too?
GM invented the technology through their supplier Delphi at the time, but
Okay.
during the bankruptcy, they spun off Delphi to BWI. BWI purchased Delphi, and so they purchased Delphi, and so now they own the technology. I
Oh, so
think,
Magneride is old Delphi stuff?
yeah. So
Oh.
I've heard GM still might get some licensing money.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, Ford pays GM maybe every time we use Magneride. That's not confirmed.
Didn't also like McLaren have electromagnetic suspension too?
I don't think McLaren uses it. McLaren uses like a cross suspension, like fluid system.
I see.
So it's like a different system.
Yeah,
it's
because
a lot simpler, but also a lot cleverer.
Yeah, I guess that sort of clears it up for me because when you said Magneride is patented and exclusive, I guess I wasn't sure if Magneride branded tech was different than other electromagnetic
So
systems.
Magneride is used on Ferraris, Audis, Lamborghinis, GMs, and Fords, and probably a couple others that I can't remember. But it's all the same system. And
I see.
But you have to integrate it with your car and
Right.
your system, right? And I'm the only person that does it at Ford.
Wow.
So it's kind of a lot of responsibility.
Again, I feel like you're underpaid.
Yeah, me too. But that's fine. I still like it. It's on some levels like it kind of sucks, and I describe what I do as being the secretary because most of my job is just emails and meetings. And I don't even sit in the car most days. In fact, in the Mach-E, I've never even driven yet. I put a pre-order, right, for a GT Performance, just to say, like, listen, I put this part of the car. I designed this part of the car, and not many people can say that. So like, yeah, it's fucking expensive, and it's a lot more money than I really should spend on a car. Yeah. But who else can really say that?
Yeah, dude. You gotta wear that proud because you've worked on that. You've had stress because of that. So you might as well reap some of the benefits of the labor.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely waited till the reviews came in on the base car, and if the base car reviews are pretty good so far, they're pretty positive. So like, I know behind the scenes what's going into the GT Performance, and so like with the Mach-E, you've seen nothing yet. You haven't seen anything yet. You know what I mean?
I've read somewhere that Mustang in itself. Obviously, Mustang is a sub brand within Ford, right? But it was always very specific car of Mustang, right? But I have heard that, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't even know. If you can't answer this, don't answer it. But I guess I've heard somewhere that Ford might use Mustang as just like an umbrella brand for like a sub brand of cars, like various cars, not just the Mustang, the sports car. Sort of like Genesis and
Hyundai. Yeah, exactly. So what I can like, you mean a spinoff? What I can share is that was the old CEO's vision. I don't know if that's the current CEO's vision. That's all I know.
Huh. Well, we'll see. I mean, I feel like people who talk about the car culture is gonna be dead. Electric cars coming, the sky's falling. No,
it's just different.
I'm personally very, very excited by this whole notion. Like, it's gotta be. Is it gonna be the same? No. It's gotta be different, but that's what's exciting. And
dude, it's not car culture is dead is fucking crazy. All these old people. Think about how many kids play fucking Gran Turismo or like iRacing every fucking day.
Yeah. And that's only one facet of the entire thing.
Exactly. And even like the fucking mobile game, that drift game. People,
that was the sound of the drifting game.
That was my cats.
I literally thought it was a tire squealing.
Yeah, no, but the dude, people like, it's like this like anime looking, cartoon looking drift game, mobile game, and people have made like picture perfect replicas of Simba's fucking car.
Which is so ridiculous.
It's amazing. And did we talk about when we recorded? Because I don't remember.
Maybe I don't remember.
Because so I had this conversation with Simba. Like, I DM'd him and like, dude, do you have a copy of this? And he's like, yeah, someone sent it to me. I was like, oh, thank God, because I was gonna say like, if you have to pay money for the digital version of your physical car, like my mind would just explode. And that's why like that whole NFT thing like kind of spiraled in like the Top Shot.
Because that right then and there, Simba could have authenticated car model on NFT, and if that could integrate into the game itself, dude, people would pay for that. Yeah. Obviously, people want to decorate their cars like that, but if you could have an authentic, you have my blessings type of, like the version, dude, that's NFT.
Yep,
it's great.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of out of words, so we just
yeah. I'm not really. I don't know if that was that.
It's fine. Whatever. Fuck it. It's good enough for me. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Oh, one more thing. At the end of the recording, because I wanted to say goodbye to both you and Simba, but it came out like where I was trying to say goodbye to you guys both. So I just kind of like messed it up and fumbled it. So I wanted to say good night. I love you, Hoeun. And Simba, if you listen to this, hopefully you don't because it's pretty fucking bad. I love you too, bro. And we'll talk soon, both of you. All right? All right, see you guys.
Later. Ran into each other at one of the track events here and there.
Yeah, I guess. Something. Yeah, I'd assume somewhere. But yeah.
So anyways,
yeah, how's it going? How's everybody doing?
Not too bad. How's your day?
Not bad, just busy at work, but aside from that, it's not bad. Oh, do we have the same headphones at least? I think we do. Quiet comforts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But I got the cheap ones, like the QC25s, not the fancy QC.
No. That's what I have. I got a cable. Yeah. 25. I like these. I'm not Bluetooth.
The sound quality is really good, actually.
I mean, they always say, I'm not an audio nerd, but they always say cables are better than fucking Bluetooth, so.
Yeah, but then when you have a Bose, you might as well not have cables.
Yeah, oh, really? True. True. Yeah, it's nothing special.
Anyways, before we get started, last time we kind of got fucked up with Phil because it got shipped out late and it arrived late and stuff.
Yeah.
But typically, we're just gonna go over you don't have to feel any kind of pressure about the whiskey, and you don't even have to come drink it all. It's just more of just something to do. It's more of the reason for the podcast to exist, sort of.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll just do a quick tasting, and then we'll talk about the car, but not really focus too much on it because I figure guys like Palmer or whatever other podcasts, and basically there's enough information out there on the internet where basically people can fucking recreate it in the fucking games and shit, sticker by sticker, which is insane.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we don't have to go over that shit.
Okay.
But more about background, you and I, and how we know each other. I kind of want to touch on some of the stuff more about you on a personal level and how we know each other.
Okay.
What you've been up to with Club FR, how you got involved, and then how you basically came about. Okay. Because I kind of know, but I don't really know because I've been out of the loop for so long.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's all, and then basically after that, we can just shoot the shit,
Okay. No, that works for me.
Yeah, so nothing no pressure and no real set format. It's just a couple of touch points that I want to hit.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Sweet. I am ready whenever you are.
Oh, do you have a glass in the whiskey and stuff?
Which one should I be pouring first? I do.
It's dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice, so I have to read your handwriting, your chicken scratch first.
Yeah.
I don't know what is WFE.
So that's this right here. Willett Family Estate. It's a single barrel. Yeah, normally Willett is known for their rye. Okay. So it's a green neck, but the purple it's their bourbon.
Okay.
And you can only find it when it's through a store pick. So a store has to buy the entire barrel and then sell it. So not every state gets it, and so this guy came from through a trade from someone in California. So it's a 5-year.
Okay.
It's called the Peacemaker. Okay. I'll take a picture of it later.
All right. I'll start with that. Sure, I suppose.
I went with it because of the purple.
Okay, that works. You choose the purple, so I guess that worked for a start.
All right, cool.
How strong is this?
It is 58.2, 116 proof.
Wait, are the other ones weaker than this?
I mean, it's cask strength, so it just varies, right?
Oh, all of them are cask strength?
Yeah, they're all single barrels are
nice.
cask strength.
No, I'm talking about like other whiskeys that we got.
Oh, so the Matsui is
Matsui.
like Matsui is 48%, and it's the other is Four Roses, which is 40%. Is 80 proof.
Is this the Four Roses?
This is the strongest, so it's I don't this is the strongest. We might blow
We're
out our
starting
palates.
strong.
So we're actually doing this backwards.
Yeah,
because
we
might
we're
blow
not
out our
gonna be able to
palates.
taste any of the other ones.
Yeah, but that's also like a very Simba kind of thing to do things backwards.
I asked and you didn't give me an answer, so
Yeah.
I picked my choice. I picked my
Alright.
poison.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Mm. It was good though.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Hoeun,
That's very good.
you wanna lead us off with the tasting notes? And what you got out of
Sure.
it?
Well, on the nose, when you smell it, I smell like raisins, but I feel like that flavor, like dried fruits, whether it's like rye or bourbon, I feel like that's the base note or base smell.
That's interesting. I smell just like I don't know how to describe it,
Mm-hmm.
but I smell like a dark sweetness.
Yeah, it's very fruity for sure, but like not in a bad way. But yeah, I can definitely can see that dark sweetness. I understand.
Yeah.
It makes sense actually.
Yeah, I don't know how to I don't know how to describe it in a way that people could understand, other than like, dark sweetness, almost like a if honey was like stuck in a barrel.
When I say like raisins or like dried fruits, I think that's what I'm trying to say is that it's like dark sweetness. It's not like bright like fresh fruits.
Yeah,
but it's very subdued, but it's like dark room sweetness type of thing.
Dude, I really like this. I really like this actually.
That's good. Yeah, that's actually really good.
It's got like a very like viscous quality, so like it coats your tongue. It's like very oily, and so like the heat like just builds its way down your like esophagus.
It's
I really
definitely leaving
like
a trail in the glass.
Yeah, it's like really thick. Like you can see the viscosity of it.
Mm-hmm. It's good, but I also drink my whiskey like I drift my car. I don't know what's happening. I just do it.
I mean, if you want to switch the whiskey around in your mouth a little bit,
I was taught Melvin taught me a Charleston chew is what I don't know. That's what they do.
Oh
in
yeah,
certain
the
areas.
Kentucky chew. The Kentucky chew.
Is that what is?
Yeah.
Is there a difference
It's the
between a
Kentucky
Charleston
chew.
chew and a
The
Kentucky
Charleston
chew,
chew is
the
it's the fucking candy, dude.
it's the chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Like chocolate marshmallow.
I mean, it could be because it does like stick, so I could see that does make sense.
They just say throw it in the back, it in the
Yeah.
back of by your gums basically, and just chew.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, they might call it that because like for like Scotch drinkers.
Maybe.
So that might make that could be. Why.
I can't remember.
So
He-
is
I
that then
can't
Scottish
remember.
chew?
I don't know what they call the candies, dude. Dude, Simba. Oh, actually, shit, we fucked up again. God damn it, we suck at this.
Did you not start recording?
Welcome to
No.
the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, Spirit of Build. Today we have Simbarashe Nyemba as our guest. Simbarashe Nyemba of Proceed.
The late
Team
intro.
Proceed. Also of
Uh-huh.
Club FR and of Final Bout and whatever
Yep.
else. I don't know what else you do. I mean, you're like some kind of like.
Just work.
All I know is like you're like or some influencer with like a bajillion followers, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
Far from a bajillion. I'm not that far yet.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like
Nothing
5
crazy,
figures, right?
But
It's solidly 5 figures.
no. Or yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 13 or something.
That's
I don't think it
overwhelming,
is,
yeah.
It's interesting how it's gotten that far, and it just kind of like happened out of the blue. To be honest, it just kind of. It's my car. Everybody likes the car, so
I know.
it is what it is.
It's true.
But then it makes me like there's always days. Well, you've been off social media for a while, and it's kind of nice, isn't it? When you were off social media,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love to be off of it, but like
You can.
it's kind of hard to do that in the Club of Far and Final Bout business. I kind of have to be on. That's
No,
the problem.
true. I know. It takes an emotional toll, man. That's why I just got off of it.
A little bit. Yeah, no, you're smart. It's a good thing to do sometimes. Take a break. So I like when I do disappear into some random country or some shit and just step away.
Just go back home.
Well, Earl came back to social media, so who's the fool?
Yeah,
I am a fool.
Why
but everyone thinks I'm crazy now, right? I feel like everyone thinks I'm crazy because I just like speak the truth. So
you're all over the place. All over. Crazy.
But it's not my fault. It's like in like an average week, I have to deal with like maybe 300 conversations. So it's a fucking lot. So just between my like daily life and like social media. So like sometimes I just can't keep track of like who's asking for what. And I have like 3 different cell phones. And I only have social media on one. So like sometimes like I forget what I'm like who I'm supposed to be talking to.
So I was gonna say, yeah, usually this more than one cell phone is a drug dealer. One of them, one of those like pay by minute phones. What are those?
Prepaid?
Yeah. You got one of those.
Why do you think I've been preaching all about crypto, dude? It's to avoid it's to launder money.
Geez. There you go. Now I'm understanding. Here we go.
I've watched Ozark.
I haven't seen it yet. Not yet.
You really? It's good, dude.
No, I'm behind on a lot. I just watched Game of Thrones like 3 weeks ago.
Dude, so I watched like
I'm behind
half
on
the first episode, and like I fell asleep and like, no, I'm never gonna watch this, and I just I didn't bother.
Yeah, I mean, it's good if you watch it in a row. I wouldn't.
No, I can understand why some people I waited to binge it.
Oh,
I couldn't get past the first episode, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna bother."
Well, when you give up on trying to know what's actually going on, because for the first 3 seasons I didn't know who the fuck was who, because I couldn't hear them, and I didn't want to put subtitles on, and I didn't know what they were saying.
What's wrong with subtitles?
I watch enough anime with enough subtitles. That's enough. It distracts me. So like with anime, it's one thing.
You can't watch what's going on because I always read.
Yeah, exactly. With anime, it's like, all right, at least it's like meant to be simple scenes, but like with Game of Thrones or other TV shows, you really gotta like watch what's on the screen, kind of thing. So if I see the subtitles, I'm going to read them 100%. Like I just can't help myself. Yeah, at that point, I might as well read the book, right? Like, what's the? Like, let me just read the book.
You don't get to see the titties, apparently. That's what I hear, right? Like, that's why.
Yeah, but then, after like season 3, then all the actors and actresses were like, "No, we make money. We're not showing our titties anymore." So,
why do people stop? Like, I don't know. Everyone's like, "Okay, you have to wait until the middle, and then it gets good." So I'm like, and then also the ending is not good. So I'm like, you mean it's not fucking good? Why would I watch it?
The ending, yeah. I mean, the ending was. I liked the ending, actually. To be honest, it wasn't bad, but it was one of those. If I waited however many years to get to that ending, I'd be like, all right, this is kind of dumb. But
yeah, you had to watch it all fucking years.
Right? Yeah. That part sucks. Like, that's a bit much.
I fell into that trap once. Remember, we used to like watch How I Met Your Mother, like back on Mondays, like at your place.
Yeah, and that ending sucked.
Yeah. Dude, I was like, I waited 10 years for this? Why?
Yeah, they
I was
really
so mad.
They're like, wait, you're lying to us this whole time?
I know, dude. It was I felt cheated. Mm-hmm. I mean, like the ending was fine, but it should have came in like 6.
Yeah. It was one of those, because most TV shows, they try and stretch. They take as much money as they can until it starts getting bad. Then they end it abruptly.
Yeah.
But whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Knowing when to exit.
It's true. No, but I was going to say that. Speaking of which, we should probably just get into like the history of like how we kind of know each other.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know about you, but I remember from what my memory, we met back at John Ann's and Mark's place, his parents' place. That was like right after that was like right after you painted your car purple, I think, and you were like on the gold gram lights, and John helped you install the turbo.
Okay. Oh, was that
I think
the
that
first
was
time
the night
I
met you? I think that was the night.
Oh wow! Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I think that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah, that was a very long. Yeah, John was helping me do the turbo, and I remember like every time John worked on my car, he cut himself, and he cut himself working on the turbo. Like no matter what he was doing, he'd be doing something as simple as like putting in a radio in the car, and he would cut himself one way or another. Only on my car. He knows that.
Because your car's cursed, dude.
Basically, that's what it was. But yeah, I do remember that day because. Yeah, maybe that might have been the first time I would have met you.
I think so. That was like 2006.
Yeah, because I remember his dad was just like giving a shit the entire time.
Yeah, he'd like grab his Heineken.
Exactly. Yeah. Ah, damn. Was that? Yeah, that might have been the first time. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. So basically, Simba and I, for the listeners at home, Simba and I have known each other for about 15 years, and we just met kind of randomly. And that was kind of my real introduction into like drifting in Chicago, to be honest. Because before that, like I didn't really like know anyone that did it. I just knew like that drifting existed, and that's why I had like the S14 at the time.
Yeah, and it was pretty early on because I mean, at that point, I'd maybe had been drifting for like 3 years. I would probably say.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years roughly.
Damn, 3 years?
Maybe a little longer. I don't know.
Dude, you were
trying to remember.
16?
Yeah, I started drifting I got my S13 at like almost just about 17 at 16 is when I got it. And then I drifted it pretty much because I met Crab before I had the 240, and I met Jesse, I think, before, but like when I got the car, I met them once, and then they just like one random day took me out street drifting. They were just like, let's go street drifting. And I didn't care at the time, but like I was just like, fine, I'll go watch. But then instead of watching, after I watched them, they're like, okay, it's your turn. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I don't know what to do, how to do it. And they just kind of gave me a quick like 2-second rundown. And I did it. And then that's ever since. But yeah, that was maybe after like 2 months of me owning that car, I'd probably say.
What spot was that
quick. The big DCs down in Bolingbrook. One of the first main spots. Yeah, it was raining. We just went down there, and that's it.
So how'd you find them though?
How did I find the spot or find them?
No, Crab and Jesse.
So like I think it's just been a thing for me, which is why I still host events. But like I was hosting 240 meets when I was 16, basically, because I knew I wanted to. After I decided on wanting a 240, and it wasn't so much that I wanted the 240, it was more that that's what I knew I could afford. So I wanted to like learn about them. And I wanted to meet people that like knew about them and try and figure out what to look for, all that kind of things. And like forums were a thing, but figured it'd be easier just to do it in person kind of thing. So I started like helping host 240 meets, and like, cause I was on forums, and like we would host 240 meets and whatnot. And Brian and Crab would show up every now and then, and Jesse would show up every now and then. And then eventually I got a car. And then when I got a car is when they were just like, hey.
So wait, were you going to 240 meets before you had a car?
Without the car?
Yeah, no. I was going before.
Hardcore. No wonder you're so hardcore with the S chassis, dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
You dedicated your entire life to that fucking car.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Like I didn't go to a lot. I set up a meet or two without the car, but not very many. But yeah, and then I think I showed up in my parents' Camry and like just fucking checked out 240s, and I learned. I mean. Cool. Nowadays I always wonder, how did kids like learn these things? Because nobody likes to go like see people. They just do everything on Instagram. But it's the simplest thing. Is like you just go to the meet and show up and you see, what can you do? What can cars look like? And
I just learned everything on the forums.
Yeah, I mean forums are one way, but yeah, I don't know. I wanted to see it in person.
No, I've
always been just like a in-person kind of guy for that.
So then what got you into S chassis even before you got the car? Like what's the story behind that?
So my brother, I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me. He was into cars. He had an MX-6, and like he wasn't really into cars like a lot, but he had one, and he liked to like modify it, like to put JDM headlights on it. And he also had help from Melvin. So Earl, no, I don't know if you know Melvin, but obviously Earl does. But so I've known Melvin since I was 5. I've known him since I was, I think, 5. So basically, when I moved to the U.S., so I was born in Zimbabwe.
You know Melvin since you were 5?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. So when we moved to the U.S., my mom was a nurse at like Northside at Thoric. I don't know if you know where Thoric is at in Thoric Hospital, kind of by I don't know, it's like Six Corners area in the general area. But anyway, so she was a nurse there, and she met Melvin's mom, and they were both nurses at the same hospital. And like, Filipinos, the way they are is like, hey, come over for family lunch.
Yeah.
Whatever. And they just kind of like, we didn't know anybody. So my mom just befriended Melvin's mom, basically. And so I would go over there, me and my brother would go over there as kids just to family parties of theirs, basically, and just to eat randomly. So like, it was obviously Melvin, Mark, and Matt were all there. So I met them then. It was one of those like, hey, these are my friends, forced go play with each other, right? Like one of those things. But like, and that's probably how my brother started getting into cars, because Melvin's family, like his uncles and grandparents are all into cars, and like Melvin and all of them had like fancy cars and all that. Okay. So my brother was into cars because of them for the most part.
Okay.
And then I just was trying to find a car, right? When it came time to buy a car, it was just like, I wanted a GSX, but couldn't afford that. That was like, maybe like 15 grand or 10 grand at the time. And then I kept like working my way down and down and down on the list of what I could get. Like I went through like Prelude, GSX, I tried Talons, I tried Integras, all sorts of stuff. Couldn't afford any of that. And then eventually 240 was like, oh, this is $2,500. I can afford this.
Yeah.
And it looked cool.
Wait.
Didn't really know anything about it.
What year did you graduate high school?
2003.
3? Wait, so you graduated the same age as me?
Yeah,
you're like 16 when you graduated. I heard that story, right?
Yeah. So like when we moved
dude.
here, I started school in the UK, like whatever they don't call it kindergarten or whatever. But when I came here, I should have went to kindergarten, but they like gave me some test. Like I don't know what test do you give a 4-year-old, right? Like, and I knew more than like how to point, and they were like, go to first grade, and I was like, all right. So yeah, I ended up in first grade when I probably should have went to kindergarten. But I think also for my parents, they were just like, if you're a parent, if you had an option when you came to America, going to kindergarten because it's not full-time, right? Versus first grade is full-time. So I have a feeling it was more that decision of like, my parents are like, if you put you in first grade, we don't have to worry about you, right? That's my guess. They never told me that, but that if I was them, I would have done that too. So,
that's what I would do.
They put me into first grade.
That sounds like an immigrant parent
why
thing.
not? Like it's cheaper.
For sure.
Exactly.
You mean we have to pay?
It's a cheaper option
to send them to school?
Exactly.
No. No.
Yeah. So they're just like, public school it is. Here you go. Take them.
You went to Maine East, right? Or Maine South or whatever?
Yeah. So yeah.
Which school did you go to?
Maine East.
So you know Doug, right?
Which is the ironic part is because like eventually I moved away from Melvin. And I had Doug Pagers?
Doug Hahn.
Yeah. Doug Pagers. Oh, Doug Hahn. Oh.
Doug Hahn. He went to Apollo. Did you go to Apollo?
What year? No, I didn't. I went to Gemini.
Oh, Gemini. I'm sorry. Gemini. That's what I meant. He went to Gemini. He's a year younger than you in grade, but he's like a year older than you in real life, if that makes sense.
So he's Melvin's grade.
Sure.
He's Melvin's age and grade. Because Melvin is older than me by like a couple months, but he's 1 year behind me.
so weird, dude. It's trippy. So what was it like to be like the smartest African kid in your school from England? It makes no sense. It hurts my brain, dude.
At the time, at the time it meant nothing because at that age you don't really know. Like
you have to be like the smallest kid in your class.
I'd never really noticed. Yeah, I was definitely small. Yeah. I mean, even just now, right? I'm not like a large human or anything like that. So I was always short.
Like 7-year-old versus like 5-year-olds.
Yeah, dude. Like
yeah. But yeah, I was small. I was definitely the shortest kid usually at all times. But
it never like clicked. Like I'm like 2 years younger than these guys. Like everyone's driving. And I'm getting my driver's license my senior year.
No, I mean, so in high school, obviously, is when it like started to become an odd thing. But then, like, even in high school, who really had like not everybody had a car at 16 or 17, junior and senior year. And my brother was still at high school. Like, my brother was 2 years ahead of me. Yeah. So for freshman and sophomore year, he would drive me. And then my junior year, I don't know how I got to school my junior year. And then senior year, I moved to Bolingbrook, but I drove with my dad because I wanted to stay in Maine East for the last year because why not?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so like it didn't bother me, and then like basically when I graduated, it was about when I got the car.
Yeah, okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got the car the same year I did? Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Bought it from some old lady, one owner.
Yeah, I got mine like as soon as I graduated high school. Like I got the S14.
Not bad. See, yeah, you're fancy. I went cheap S13. 1989 is all I could afford.
So my logic was like, my parents were like, here, you can have $5,000, buy whatever car you want. And I'm like, okay, what's the coolest car I can get for $5,000? I'm like, well, it's a Zenki S14.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then now, like, even then, $5,000, I can't afford it somehow. It's fucking, it hurts my brain, dude.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah. It's rough how pricing is gone.
Dude, how
it's crazy. $5,000 back then, it's gotta be like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 now, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like car prices.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, if it was, yeah, I guess in
No,
terms of
hold
that,
on.
yeah,
Wait,
in
let me
terms of-
hold on. Let me think about this in terms of McDonald's cheeseburgers.
If you're talking
This-
inflation wise, yes, I guess, if that's what you mean. But if you're talking,
The actual price of these cars, they've more than doubled of those
Yeah.
times, right?
exactly, yeah, that's hyper. I don't even know what you consider that. It's not inflation, but
Well,
it's just
think about it this way: in 2003, you could get on tax day a cheeseburger for 35 cents from McDonald's, right? Do you remember that?
I mean,
Because I remember I did that every year of high school on tax day. April 15th, I remember. Because it was right by Stevenson. The McDonald's, it's like walkable. So
Yeah, but tax day price, you can't use that the cheapest day.
But guess what? They don't have it anymore. And like the cheapest you can get it
No.
for is like 99
So there's
cents.
nothing to compare it to. The tax
Yeah,
thing doesn't
But the
happen
average
anymore.
the average cheeseburger was 69 cents then.
Yeah.
Or 59
Yeah,
cents.
you can compare 69 cents to the 99 cents. So
But now it's like $1.49, right?
is it that much?
I
Don't they
don't
still
know.
have 99-cent value meal burgers? I
Do
don't
they?
get
I
McDonald's
don't
that
know.
often.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither.
Yeah, if I go to McDonald's, I just get a Big Mac. And
I just
it's
fucked
like-
that up.
Yeah.
Give me the most expensive thing on the menu here.
I
Yeah,
fucked
basically.
that up. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
either way, S14s have gone up in value somehow.
Yeah, a lot.
And
Dude,
think
I would
it's
have made
very
money had I
funny
just
how-
not sold the car. It just let it sit.
Well, yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
for anything.
but that's everything. Yeah, right. Like if you have the space and want to keep something around, yeah, keep it around. It's most likely going up in
Well, that's
value.
why I had like 5
Most
chassis at one
likely,
point.
right?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, shit. Like, I know these are gonna go up in value, and I'm not gonna be able to like,
Yeah,
you know, what I mean?
yeah.
Buy them again. Then shit, like I need space and like have to sell them, and it's like, fuck, I can't afford them.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, you can just
Exactly,
always
yeah.
use. Like,
yeah. I've thrown away parts too. That I'm just like, yeah,
When you factor in the cost of storage, like you
True.
don't really make much at all. Because
true.
I've done this calculation because I've wanted so many different things. I was like, how much would it cost to store 10 cars? And
fuck.
can I turn a profit on this? No, I
Yeah, that's
It-
true.
can't.
It works with like parts, which even parts like sometimes like I feel bad because I threw away some parts recently, and then like I think like 2 years ago I threw away something, and then I needed them, so I tried to rebuy them, and I was just like, holy shit, this is so damn expensive for me to get these damn parts, and I threw them away, and they're just sitting in a corner, right? Like I should have kept it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Spring
Dude,
cleaning, I guess.
That's why everyone's like, dude, just turn your STI back into like a street car. I'm like, well, I have to piece together the entire fucking interior. That'll cost me a fortune. I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah. You're better
that
off
point, you
finding a
might-
broken one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you need a parts car at that point.
Yeah. By the way, I also forgot, like, god damn, we're so bad at this, Hoeun. Simba,
Welcome
can you
to-
introduce your car? I don't know what car you have. Or not what car. I don't know what year it is and all that. Like, I just know it's like a 240 coupe.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a-
this is a car podcast, by the way.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Car podcast. It's a 90. So like, to be honest, I'm not even 100% my car's a 91, but I believe it's a 91. I should probably check.
I'll ask
I've
Bob.
had-
I know I know it belonged to Bob at one point, so I'll ask him.
Yeah, Bob would know. And like, so I know the options are 91 or 92. Basically, it's not a 93, or it could be 93. It can't be a 94 because that's a verb. But there weren't very many 93s to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
like
know, like
80%.
94s, like convertibles or something like that.
Yeah, they're all convertibles. So like the dilemma is, I've had technically 4 chassis, and one of them I never used. So that's why I don't remember the years. And I know the first one was 89, and then after that it was whatever somebody had.
Right.
It was
It's
S13,
because
so
it's like irrelevant, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like every time somebody asks, I'm like, I don't know, it's an S13. It's whatever. Like it doesn't make a difference what
Okay, you
it
heard
is.
it there, people. It's S13 Nissan
Yeah.
240SX coupe, probably stolen. Cause he's black.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. It may be, who knows?
I'm
Hey,
just
Bob-
kidding. Because
Bob gave
no,
it to me.
well, so when I was at
Sold it to me.
when I was at Eric's shop, I ran into Bob last time I was in Chicago. And like according to Bob, like apparently like I didn't know that your chassis was originally Bob's, but the motor that came out of that chassis ended up in Bryn's S13. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
or
I didn't
not.
know that. I didn't know. I found that out eventually from Eric,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that until maybe a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because I knew he had a motor, but I didn't know what he did with it, and that answered the question.
Why didn't you take the motor with
'Cause
with the chassis?
I had a motor already, and my motor was fine, and
Okay.
like at that time I didn't have expendable money that I would have just bought another motor. Granted, it would have been way cheaper to buy that and just hold on to it.
Wait,
But-
what happened to the last chassis? That was the hatch, right? That was the purple hatch, the last chassis.
No, those purple coupe.
Okay,
It went
so what happened with the
hatch,
purple coupe?
the first hatch that I ever bought, and then I got a coupe. That one.
Wait, hold on.
ironically, it
Wait,
was
Simba,
that big
wait.
DC.
Time out. Let's go through the history of the 4 chassis then, like, and like how each one of them like got like
How they
little-
all died.
yeah.
Starting
with Boulder.
They all died?
Ish, kind of. I mean, realistically, only 2 died.
Yeah.
One of them I just never used. But so the first one is the hatch. That's the first one I got. That was the 89. That was the one that was silver when I bought it. That one eventually hit Boulder, but like that was right at the time when TF started bringing in Origin, so I was able to get Earl, so covered that all up. And then it was the purple coupe or purple hatch.
Right.
And I had that for a while, but eventually not necessarily street drifting. We were going to a car show, put it that way. And on the way to the car show, decided to drift an on-ramp and ran out of gearing and went straight into the K-rail and fucking destroyed this car. Granted, I still used it for like a good 6 months after. Like I told it back to TF, kind of made it look half decent. It was pretty twisted up at that point, but I used it for a couple of events regardless because I didn't have money for another chassis until I got the second coupe. So ended up getting rid of that chassis. It was pretty much useless, so that's why that one died. Then I got another coupe, which I got from this guy Chris. It was a shell, swapped everything over, everything was good, blah blah. Used that for a few years.
Is that Rockford, Chris?
To be honest, I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's posthumous. He's no longer alive, but it's a different Chris. If you maybe think of Chris Hackinson, maybe, but it's a different Chris.
No, not Hackinson.
Yeah, there's this Chris. You might not know him. He was in the game a little bit, but yeah, he passed away maybe like a year after I got that car, I think. But yeah, so I got that car from him, put it all together, did everything, did some Pro-Am days. That's the car that got impounded and a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah bullshit, all that stuff too. That car died at Big DC because I went to go drift at Big DC, blah, 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 do all that. And then something happened, some sort of suspension failure. I think it's because I ended up putting some really big wheels and really big tires up front. And it just like binded up and like broke my control arm. Crashed that thing into a truck basically and ruined the shit out of that car. So got rid of that, picked up another coupe from one of TF Mike's friends. And I was going to swap everything over. It was at TF getting ready for that. But then I looked at the chassis and the chassis was complete shit. It was like all rusted and it was useless and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't even use that chassis. I was just like, fuck it. Let me just get rid of this one. Then I got Bob's chassis, and Bob's chassis was like perfect and pristine. Because Bob's pretty neurotic about that stuff, so ended up getting his, and that's the same car I've had this whole time.
Dude, that thing is tired then, huh?
It's pretty old.
Where'd you get that?
Good question. Maybe 2000. 14?
14?
I think.
God damn.
Maybe 2014, 2015.
I didn't even know you crashed the other coupe. I didn't know that there were 2 coupes.
Yeah. That coupe was not short-lived. It was the one that I went to Laughlin with.
Yeah.
I had that for maybe like 3 years. It was a very short stint in the middle of the two, because that one I didn't drive too much.
So do you want to get back into a hatch? Or do you want to keep
I like the coupe. I want a hatch, but as a secondary car. I don't think I would replace the coupe at this moment, but I wouldn't mind a secondary car.
Is there a reason that you're sticking with S13 the whole time?
So one, I do just generally love the chassis, and like one thing that I've noticed in my however many years of watching people drift is I notice a lot of people switch chassis and rebuild, and like the whole process of changing chassis like to something completely different is such an expensive thing.
You have to rewire your brain to drive.
Yeah, exactly. And like that part, to be honest, the driving part doesn't bother me as much. It's more literally the build to get it to like the level of where this car is. I would basically lose out on a ton of money. just to like get back, because it's, if I were to sum up, like I'm sure Earl, if you summed up what your Subaru was done, right? Like it's a very large amount of money that you don't really want to think about.
Yeah.
But like when you do it over 20 years, right? Like, and I've
It's not so
generally,
bad.
yeah, like I've carried some parts over little by little. Like obviously they get refreshed and replaced as it goes, but for the most part, like I've changed, the subframes have switched over with all the parts, and like little by little, like there isn't, I don't think there's anything that still exists from the hatch. Actually, like the floor mats do, but that's about it. But like like little by little, right?
Little
like,
origin checkered ones.
this is gone. Yeah, those are, I think, are probably the only thing from the hatch that still exists.
Spirit lives on.
Yeah, I think that is. But yeah, so like actually, and the seats technically, although I'm about to get rid of those, but like the seats are, one of them is still the same seat.
Is it the Buddy Club?
My first hatch, and the steering wheel. Yeah, the Buddy Club and the steering wheel. The steering wheel is the same car that the same wheel I've had in every single chassis. So
that seat must be so gross by now. It's seen so many asses.
It was redone. It was redone. So like it was redone not too long ago. Well, maybe a few years back, but like now it's
so many ride-alongs
now, so it's time. Yeah, exactly. So it's such a pain. But yeah, so like overall, I mean, and plus I just like the S13.
Yeah. So what do you
know some people that have switched to S14 and like.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say, like, when you're just gonna like grow up and like.
No, you didn't. Now you're back. I see you.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, when are you gonna grow up and just get a JZA80, get a Supra, or a Soarer?
That's money. It's
well, all of
the
it's
Soarer
money,
is
right?
a potential, right? Like the JZA80. Yeah, no, the Soarer is probably like a third the cost, I would bet, for me to get what I want, maybe even less.
I think they actually look better,
like
too,
realistically, if I wanted to get into a Soarer. Yeah, it depends. They can look better. The only reason why I like the JZ80 is just because it's kind of an ignorant car kind of thing. And like, to be honest, I don't want one for a drift car. Maybe everybody thinks I want one for a drift car, but I just want one for a highway car. That's it. Like,
okay.
No reason to go 100 miles an hour, 140, 180. Just why the hell not?
Dude, it's cool, man. Like the JDM ones had like active like arrow, like the curtain shutters, like back in like '93 or whatever. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. They had a lot. They had an active spoiler too, or front lip, I should say.
What is JZ80?
Mark IV
Supra.
Okay.
The Fast and Furious.
That's the one with
Supra.
the big butt, right?
Fast and Furious Supra.
Okay.
The Paul Walker one. Yeah, that's the JZ80. Yeah. So.
But yeah, eventually.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish this. You guys want to move on to the next one?
Well,
yeah, I'm almost.
Should we talk about the finish?
Oh yeah, the finish.
How's it finish, boys?
I like it. I told you, like I like the way like because it's viscous, like the heat just slowly builds, and then like that cinnamon almost like that.
Yeah, it does have that
heat.
I don't know how you describe that feeling. Yeah, it's a very strong cinnamony type of feel.
It almost tastes like there's a very high rye content.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like,
I bet I can.
It's slightly minty and cooling at the end.
So here's the thing: there's like whiskey nerds, and then there's like Willett nerds, and Willett nerds are like next level, man. It's like
it's like it's like people that drive S13s still. You know?
There you go.
It's a culture in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like that. It's like if you were like an S13 fan and you were trying to source every single Nismo part ever, and you only bought Nismo parts, or
True.
It's like that kind of like next level, like
so
all the LMGT4s, right?
Or do you know Damon?
Yeah, I know Damon.
Yeah,
or
I
I haven't met him, but he only lives like 20 miles north of here. So I told him like over the summer, whenever we get a chance to like hook up or whatever we meet.
Yeah, he is not Nismo nerd, but Nissan OE nerd.
Oh yeah, man, I've seen dude. I remember
his car's immaculate.
Dude, he was a customer when I was still working at TF, or like right before.
Oh yeah,
he was like I think he was a customer when I was still working at TF.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's been in the 240 game for God knows how many years. Like ever since I've been in it, but maybe like a year or two after me. But he's he doesn't drift or anything, but he's just kind of.
No, I mean,
knows
I get it.
everything about the chassis, like how to just like full
cool,
rebuild.
Yeah, because like for me, it's like I just remember seeing like the Camryon Bronze username like on all the forums that I was on, like every single one of them.
Yeah,
like, holy
exactly.
shit, dude! This guy knows like his fucking S13. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does know stuff.
Yeah, but he only lives like 20 miles from here.
Yeah, I've been to we stayed at his place a couple times. I forget what city he lives, but yeah.
Yeah, in Howell, I think, or Brighton.
Yes. Yeah. No, Howell. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So now, which one's next?
It's your show. Well, let's do the hood.
The hood, the Matsui.
Yeah, I heard it's gross, so let's just get it over with.
Oh, why do we drink
gross?
The good stuff?
Because I think, why did he have to get that hood? I don't know. I don't fucking choose.
Oh, this is because of the hood.
The hood.
Yeah.
Why else would I do it?
That's true.
You cost me $100, Simba. I hope you know that.
Wow. And it's gross.
That's what I hear.
I'm using my JDM glass, my Mount Fuji glass for this.
Okay. Dude, I want to go to Japan with you guys.
Yeah, man. It's a fun time.
What do you do when you go to Japan?
Drift.
Yeah, it's everything. So, I mean, I've been now, I think, every year for like the last 4 or 5 years now, I think. But like, so normally sometimes I go is obviously we have events. So like, that's partially why I've gone. But like in the past, I went once with TF when I worked at TF like 15 years ago or something.
Fun, right?
Yeah, that was the first time I went there. But like now my most recent trips, usually we have an event that we're hosting somewhere. So we do that. But when I'm usually there, like I did a solo trip, like 3 years ago. All I did was roam. Basically, I was just kind of like, I picked a couple hotels and whatnot, and then I just kind of roamed the cities, ate, drank. Ironically, I typically try and find some sort of whiskey bar. It's hard to find them because like they're it's hard to find things in Japanese, obviously, but like I remember finding one that was really cool just because like all of them, they just had so many like cool whiskey bottles and shit. And like one bartender spoke English kind of, and the other one like didn't, but it was like interesting. It was just me and them because it was empty and we were just sitting there chilling and drinking. But the ironic part is every whiskey bar that I went to, I would always ask, what is your favorite whiskey? Unanimously, maybe like 9 out of 10 would have said Jack Daniels.
It's the culture. It's because it's the culture of Jack Daniels, right? It's what it symbolizes.
Yeah, the other part that I learned also though is when I went to, so like where I got this particular glass, maybe you can't see it, but there's like Mount Fuji at the bottom.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is tight.
So this was I forget what, there's a whiskey spot there, but like, so I went for a tour there and they were explaining that the casks that they use are from Jack Daniels. A lot of Japanese whiskey is made in these, basically in like old Jack Daniels casks or like Kentucky or whatever. So that's, I think, the other reason why they like this, because it's familiar in that sense, because they're just old. They use all their old inventory, basically, all their old stuff.
So basically, like there's like a supply chain to like whiskey making, right? And then because of American like laws, like American whiskey is typically made in new oak barrels. And so that's why it's like a really expensive cost, right? If you think about it, you have to make a new barrel. But American oak grows pretty quick. There's a lot of forests, and like whiskey wasn't very popular for a long time. So like that wasn't a big deal. And then there's like an economy where they can sell the used barrels now, right? So like either rum makers or Scotch makers or Japanese whiskey makers, right? Because then they'll use it, and then they already get the natural effect of getting some of that bourbon or rye flavor imparted onto whatever they pour into it. Yeah. So like there's like a whole like supply chain, and like it usually starts with American whiskey.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until they were like explaining that to me, and I was just like, oh, because ironically, so that's another thing. If you do go to Japan, you should definitely check it out. The tour, like the one that I went to, it's like most of them usually are full Japanese, but like they asked me out of them, and they're like, oh, if you read the reviews are like, sorry, it's all in Japanese. You just got to sit there and just listen. But like when I went, I got there and the lady's just like, oh, you're American? I was like, yeah. It's like, well, normally we do this in Japanese, but one of our like guides is trying to learn English. So she's going to be your tour guide, and she's going to do it all in English because she wants to learn English, right? And so like I got like one of the very few like full English like tours, which is dope. And it was just me and her, and like we were just like walking around and she was explaining everything. But then the funny part, she's like, your English is so much easier to understand. And I was just like, who else have you met And she goes, "Oh, I met some people from the South." And I was like, "Oh, that makes sense. I understand why you can't understand people from the South."
Because we got TV English.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're the Midwest. And I explained that whole like Midwest English to her, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, I mean,
It's
most
like, yeah,
people, I noticed like most people can't grasp like the concept of like how big America is, and like the fact that you have like regional accents, even though you have like a common dialect or English or language.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at England.
England is crazy.
I mean, you could drive like an hour and a half out of London and you can't understand. Is this English still? Like,
that's true.
That whole place is insane.
You live there, right? So like, let's get into that real quick because the only time I remember, like, I went to your parents' house that one time. I think it was for your graduation party or something.
If we're in the backyard, that was my graduation.
I remember that, and like with like your entire family, and that was wild, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
like let's get into that. Like how you're originally from Zimbabwe, right?
Yeah,
and
so
then
I was
you
born. Yeah, so I was born in Zimbabwe, and my mom was a nurse. My dad was an accountant. My mom, like, my parents, typical 80s immigrant thing, American dream, let's go to America, put the kids in school, that whole thing. So that was always their goal. So my mom was able to find a job in England as a nurse because like nurses were in such high demand across the whole world, right? Like in the 80s and early 90s and whatnot. I mean, they still are.
They'll always be.
Yeah, exactly. So like she got a job in England where her sister was living there. So myself and my mom moved to England when I was like 2 or 3. And my dad and my brother stayed in Zimbabwe because my dad still had his job and they were trying to figure out when he could move over or whatever. Then after about a year, they joined us after my dad found a job in England. But then my mom found a job in America. So that was after maybe 4 years. We lived in, we lived in England for 2 years. And then eventually we moved to America, like straight to Chicago when she got that job in Chicago. And so I didn't spend much time in England.
Yeah.
No. So she lived there up until she lived there for a long time. She didn't move to America until maybe like 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
She moved to the States.
Okay.
And then now she moved to North Carolina. My parents are in North Carolina now. So
they are?
there too. Yeah, they moved
there?
like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
In Texas. They moved for Texas.
Sense. I mean, everyone's leaving Illinois for that reason, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, because they paid off the house in Bolingbrook, and they were like, "Well, goddamn, property taxes are a motherfucker." So we're leaving.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Then so like, shit. How did? So this is like completely off topic. I always wanted to know like how you and your brother always knew about Nando's then. If you guys left England so early, because Nando's is the shit, dude, and I'm so glad they have it in America.
I mean, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's like 2 years is more than enough time for you to discover Nando. 1 month is all you need to discover. Not even 1 month.
I don't. To be fair,
the chicken place.
Yeah, the chicken place.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't know how long the chain has existed. Yeah. The Peri Peri chicken, right?
Place.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's existed, right? But apparently you discovered it in the 80s. I discovered it
Mm-hmm.
in the year 2000. And then it came to America like 5 years ago. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I was like, dude, how is your brother getting Nando sauce? You need to tell me the secrets.
Yeah, so like, cause he used to go back there. Like, so my brother he moved back to England for like 2 or a year, maybe just to like go do some like work studies and whatever, blah, 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 blah. And like, so he would bring it back and he would travel there a lot. So he'd always bring it back, but we just always remembered it from then. The crazy part, which sucks the most, and like this, I guess, is a life lesson to everybody, is don't wait. But like, so my parents, they've always kind of had semi-entrepreneurial like kind of like things, and they were just like, you know what would be great? We should open up a Nando's in America.
Yeah.
Like that would be great in Bolingbrook. That would be great in certain places, etc. And like, we were like on the fence about it. And we're like, oh, maybe we could do it as a family, blah, blah, blah. And we thought, and my brother was like, yeah, that would be great. But my brother was like in the middle of trying to do CPA stuff. So like that was like his focus. So we kind of waited. And then, a year or two later, first Nando's pops up and we're like, shit.
DC, right?
And then another one. Yeah. The DC one popped up and then another, then they've started popping up in Chicago. And we're like, oh, crap.
I got so excited when it happened.
Yeah. I was excited and pissed at the same time because we could have brought it over realistically, right? Like, it is what it is. So if you got an idea,
dude, this chicken is so good. I've remembered it from the age of 16.
It's still better in England. Like it's great
Yes,
here,
yeah,
to be
definitely.
honest,
It's still
but
better in
like
England.
over there, it's just I don't know. It hits different,
It does.
real different.
Yeah.
But it's not
So
bad.
much better.
You know, I had Nando's for the first time like 2015
In America, at Old Orchard or
Yeah,
something?
no, downtown. When I
Downtown?
was working
Okay.
downtown in
Mm.
up on Michigan Avenue, and I was like, "Ooh, this place looks new. Let's go check it out."
Yeah.
It's
so
good.
good, dude.
Yeah,
It's,
it's quite good.
Dude,
The
their
one
sauces are at fucking Meijer now.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah?
that's true.
Yeah.
The one that's downtown off Michigan Avenue is next to a Murasaki Sake Lounge, which has good Japanese whiskey. If you ever go, by the way, FYI, it's like literally 2 doors down.
I'll check it out if I'm ever in that part of town.
Yeah, it's really good. They have food too. They actually have pretty good food, but it's a friend of mine's it's a friend of mine's friend's sake lounge.
Okay,
But
cool.
it's good.
What's it called?
Murasaki Sake Lounge.
Oh, I used to go there
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, that place is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And
My dad walked in.
It's all
I
good.
got distracted. But you're talking about one in Streeterville, right?
Yeah. It's right there. Yeah, right off
Yeah.
Michigan or whatever. But yeah,
I used to go there a lot with a bunch of coworkers when I
Oh,
worked
shit.
downtown. And,
I love that place.
yeah, dude,
It's awesome.
such overpriced bottles of whiskeys. But
Oh yeah,
it
yeah,
was-
yeah,
it was-
100%.
whatever, you know. It was-
So like I'm lucky, and so one of my an old coworker of mine like got into like all this like Japanese restaurant. He's a Japanese guy. Got into all this restaurant stuff, so he knows the owner. So anytime I do go, if I tell him, and then the owner like hooks it up with a bunch of random shit. But
oh,
like
nice.
because yeah, it is a little bit on the pricey
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
but you know, it's got a lot of.
I rarely paid for it, so
There you go.
so-
Yeah.
Is it Kotra stuff where it's like company?
Well, it wasn't necessarily Kotra stuff. Kotra is my old workplace. It's a Korean government agency, but
Okay.
no, it was just a bunch of friends that
Mm.
I met through that. You know, I guess they used to be clients, but they became friends. So they were like,
okay.
"Hey, let's go get some whiskey."
Okay, that works. Yeah, that's a good spot. So highly suggest when you're in the area.
All right.
And
So,
actually, I think it's open, but you know,
yeah, let's
it's
try
open
this
right
out.
now.
So it smells like scotch.
It does not taste fantastic. I'll say
It
smells
that.
smells like
like
scotch, like peaty scotch. I'm gonna take a sip, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna toss it.
It's
See,
not.
like peaty scotch is fine. This smells like burning tires.
It's got an odd taste.
It just tastes.
I
like,
love Japanese.
It tastes like peat. I'm gonna throw this out. I'll be right back. Let's take a quick break.
It's surprisingly not that bad.
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
So it's fine.
I'm gonna pause this recording.
All right, go for it.
You guys keep talking.
All right, that's fine. But there's one that I got from Costco. I think it goes by the name of Kura, and like it's more of it's Japanese, but it's like
Yeah.
I forget what it is. It's not a. I think it might just be a Japanese Scotch,
Yeah.
but it also tastes like this,
Mm.
but not as good. This one's a little better.
I feel like a lot of the Japanese whiskeys that's coming out now, that
Mhm.
you know, like besides the well-known ones, you know, like Yamazaki, Hibiki,
Yeah.
and all that, right?
Yeah.
All these new ones it's like rice whiskey.
Yeah.
So they you know, like instead of like you know doing like single malt, like you know, like what Scotch actually, what Japanese whiskeys always tried to follow, which is single malt.
Yeah.
But now they just get into like rice whiskeys and stuff like that because
Yeah.
you know there was a whole shortage of Japanese whiskey for a while, right?
I think isn't there still?
Yeah, everything got hyped up, prices went up.
Yeah, because when I
I-
was there, that was the main narrative. I was
Mhm.
like, because I literally on my solo trip, it was just one of those like, I think I'm out of my group of friends, I'm generally one of the more nerdy, at least in terms of like wanting to try different whiskeys.
Yeah.
So like I literally would just go around asking, and basically all of them would just be like, Japanese whiskey's really hard to find right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like, good luck. Like
Well-
I had an easier time finding it here.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure. Like, what year did you go? When was that last time?
2018 was my solo trip.
Okay.
2019 I went as well, but that was with a group trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the year.
I was in Osaka in 2018, and
Okay.
yeah, I was trying to find the like whatever whiskey, right? Because it's
Yeah.
actually easy to find good like really random like bourbons.
Yeah.
Because Japanese people love bourbons,
Mhm.
and but like I was on a mission to find Japanese whiskey, which I did. I don't even think I would try anymore, but back
Yeah.
then I still scored
Yeah.
some. when I went to Kyoto, they had one shop that had like Hibiki 30, like
really?
Yamazaki 30.
Really?
But they were like, oh, we want $4,000 a bottle.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm sure you would.
Jesus. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad I did not do any of that. But like, I mean,
didn't do
some of the
anything.
cheap stuff is really good that I
Yeah.
was able to find some, and like it's all gone now. And like what sucks is like what I was doing, I was usually buying enough bottles that would last me for a year because I generally went every year.
Yeah.
But obviously I haven't gone since. So like I've got a very large void of whiskey. So unfortunately, hopefully I go sometime this year, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yo, so I wanted to actually ask you, when is it that you actually started drinking, and like when did Melvin? Apparently, Melvin got you to start drinking, got you into whiskey. So
yeah,
shout out to Melvin.
I mean,
when did that happen?
I mean, that's a good question. So like, obviously, when I was 21, I was forced to drink, like every 21-year-old. Well, I guess every 21-year-old wants.
You like barely drank then.
Yeah, I didn't drink then, not much. But then when, I don't think I drank I drank a little bit before I moved in with him. So we moved in together in the house that I'm presently in, like maybe like 6 years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. But I kind of drank a little bit before that, but not that much. And like partially because like nobody drank at my parents' house. I was living, even at the Gambler house, I didn't really drink much at the Gambler house.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you were there for that. But like, I think it was mostly once I started living with him is probably when I started drinking. So around 6-7 years ago.
Okay. So
because it was Gambler house, and then I moved back to my parents for a little bit, and then eventually I moved in with Melvin.
I want to actually talk about the Gambler house. Actually, I have some fond memories. That place is wild, dude.
It was fun.
What is this Gambler house?
So it was nicknamed the Gambler house because him and Eric Wortman, they were a part of Grip Gamblers, right? Like the OG Chicago drift team. So they just nicknamed it the Gambler house, and there's like an entire they had like an entire like living room, just full of fucking wheels. It was like 30. It was a 10-foot container, right? So it was like 30 some odd wheels.
Yeah, so like it was
insane.
It was so the house we found because it was so Crab's current wife at the time, it was his girlfriend. That was
Pam.
It was Pam's uncle's house. Pam's uncle owned the house and was like, they planned on eventually demolishing it so that they could build their big mega house. It's a more.
They had the two lots behind one, adjacent, like behind each other.
Yeah. And like it was in Park Ridge, so like ironically down the street from Main East, basically. But so that's partially why it also started as Gambler, because it was obviously Crab that like hooked us up with it.
Yeah,
but it was me and Wortman were the main two, and then like the third one always kind of rotated. Yeah, so it was like it was Chris, and then why am I forgetting? It was TF Welder. Why am I forgetting his fucking name?
Steve?
No, before Steve. He's really good welder and used to help out when they were making the octopus car. He was kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
It's mad dramatic sometimes.
No, because I wasn't around then. Remember, I was in school.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah.
Anthony. Jesus, Tony.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony DeLordo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so he was the other roommate. But like, so yeah, we lived there, and it was an old, so we're in Park Ridge, obviously, so it's like an old town, but like a super old house. But it was like, whenever it was built, whoever owned it, they were fucking balling, because it was like old, but like you could tell it was like really nice stuff. Like there was felt on the walls for no fucking reason. Like everything was like gold. It was tacky, but it was like nice tacky.
It was like if how would I describe it? If Donald Trump was a millionaire in the 1970s in Park Ridge, that's what he would have built.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it wasn't big by any means or anything, but like, if he had a particular lot of land and he just had a lot of money and he was like, fuck it, I'm going to build a house in Chicago. Like, boom. So it was really nice. But
did it have gold toilets?
Yeah. Well, not gold necessarily, but like they were fancy. There was like gold specks in like a lot of random things. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But so like it was a 3-bedroom, it was technically 4-bedroom, but there was like this room that was off the garage that I honestly don't know what it's meant for. Maybe an office, I guess. potentially is what it was used for, but it was right out of the garage, and like we didn't have a fourth room, and we didn't need another fourth person, so we literally just loaded all of our wheels. So like me and Eric were into chrome wheels and shit, so we would just load all our wheels in there, and that's where they just stayed. So it was just like a room filled with wheels, and that was it.
What happened to all those wheels?
I don't believe I own any of them. So
Do you ever think about what the value would be today if you kept them all?
oh yeah. Some of them are definitely high. Like two of them I kept for a pretty long time, but almost actually there's two that I still own. Technically, I forgot the Equips. The Equips are those were the first wheels that I ever got, and those are I still have them. I just rebuilt
I had to borrow
them
them once. I remember that.
Yeah, I just rebuilt them. Like literally,
Nice.
just got them back a couple weeks ago, so I made them a little bit bigger. But yeah, those things are worth. And like that was the ironic part. So obviously now everybody uses Jesse Streeter to get wheels, but when I got my wheels from Japan, I went through Fred, which like he knew somebody that worked at some company that did air freighting and whatever, and so like he handled basically everything for me. So they were put on a pallet and air freighted. Like
didn't you have to do it with his brother on the other side of Japan?
Yeah, his brother was the one that took the wheels, and if they had tires, he would take them off and all that kind of stuff. So he did 2 shipments for us.
God,
so like, and
Fred's poor brother.
Yeah, because he lived in a real tiny house, and he had to collect wheels because he got some for
10-foot containers worth of wheels.
Yeah, and he got all sorts of stuff. So
in a Japanese apartment, dude.
Yeah, but he did it.
Yeah,
he took care of it.
God damn.
But yeah, so that's
a
big
big
gambler house. Yeah. That's the gambler house, and like it was a cool house because we were fairly young, and at the time, I think most of our friends still were living with their parents, basically, right? Like, for the most part. So like we were one of the only ones that had like a party house per se.
Because you were still like you and Eric are both actually pretty young, so
yeah, at the
like,
time,
24 at the time, maybe not even like 22, 23.
Eric's like a year older than me, so maybe like 22 to 24 in that range, I would think.
Yeah, you guys were like super young,
pretty young.
Yeah,
and like but that was a lot of Chicago people have gone through in and out of that house.
God, there's a lot of stories and a lot of parties in that house.
Yeah,
that's a good time. Yeah. That and Lil Phil's parents. His dad's old place.
Yeah. Lil Phil's parents was like the other party house because that was the nice one, right? Yeah. That was another tacky millionaire like 80s
like
house,
the circle layout and like the pool, indoor pool.
Pool.
Dude, I fucking broke my hip on that fucking slide. I feel like I should sue Mr. Sucare.
Go for it. Indoor. Yeah, that place was nice.
Yeah, it was weird. It looked like a 70s porno set. Basically, that's 100%. The best way to describe it.
Yeah, his bedroom had mirrors.
Circle in the mirror. Yeah.
Mirrors on the ceiling. Yeah. So like to explain this house, it was basically a bunch of octagons, maybe. I don't know if they were octagons specifically, but it was like there was a main circle in the center, and then each little area had like a different section of like octagon shaped. Like one octagon was the pool, another one was like the living room, then this was like the family room, the kitchen was its own octagon, then there's like a basement where the garage is. Like it was set up really cool actually, if you were in the 60s 70s kind of thing. But yeah,
it was like a weird architecture, but it was really unique. It's very distinct.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, that was a fun place. A lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
did you dump your whiskey, Earl?
Oh yeah, I couldn't drink it.
Why?
It was so gross, dude. I'm not gonna bother.
Hey man, that bad. You essentially left us to finish this off.
Well, I apologize for nothing. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Oh wait. Did I forget something there?
You need a checklist.
I really do. Dude, I'm really bad at this, man.
This is only number 2, right?
Yeah. You don't have a checklist?
No, I texted it to you. I texted it to you at Discord. You're supposed to. You're the producer. Lord. You're supposed to keep me on track, Hoeun. Hoeun, this is on you.
That's fine.
Is this how this works?
First off, that wasn't really a to-do list of any sort.
That was just
a gibberish.
Exactly. Those are the touch points.
He makes it sound like there was a broken down list.
No, it's not. I'm way too busy to do that kind of stuff these days.
It was literally just like.
So here's another thing I wanted to ask. How did you actually end up meeting Eric? Was it just through the Club of R or what?
It was through Crab. Specifically, like
Yeah, crab on
I
the
don't
show.
think. Yeah, exactly. So like Eric never really was a meat kind of guy. He never went to like the 240 meets because Crab is obviously like the mega nerd because he likes to actually work on cars. And then Jesse would usually go with him because they kind of both like working on cars.
Mhm.
Eric is kind of like me where like fuck working on cars. I don't give a shit. I just want to drive, right? Like that's Eric in a nutshell, and same with me. So like I think I might have met him at one of the meets, but I think it was only because he only came, I think, because they knew they were going to go street drifting. And because there was a period of time when Eric had his car, and like when they all had their cars, that Eric would basically almost live at Crabs. Like he would go to Crabs almost every day of the weekend, even some days during the weekend. Like literally, before I like generally met them, they would just like sit in the basement watching option VHS tapes, right?
Yeah.
And like then they would wait until nighttime, and they would go to places and go drift. And like I can't recall if I met Eric at a meet or if I met Eric in Crab's basement. It was one of the two.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's, and we just kind of fucking went street drifting, and just that's how I got to know him. Was he would just always, because he lived up north.
Yeah.
And I lived in
Bourbon lives out by
Bolingbrook.
me. Or out
Yeah.
Wheeling.
And I lived in Bolingbrook. Crab lived in Romeoville, and Jesse lived in Joliet. So we were all in the same area. But Eric would drifting and hang out in the basement, and that was it.
That's great. I already talked to Crab and Wartman, so they're gonna be on at some point. I gotta talk to Jesse.
Crabs is gonna be about 14 hours.
Oh my god, it's gonna be about pinballs and fucking Zeeks and all this other crazy shit. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
Crab's also Ferris Bueller.
He also remembers. He's got a very good memory. He remembers everything.
Yeah, it's encyclopedic.
Yeah. So he'll be definitely a good one. It'll be a long one. A very long one.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah. Either way, whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Have you guys finished that Matsui? Because I did not like it at all.
All right. I guess.
It's not that bad.
No.
I'm not a Scotch guy. I'm not a peated guy. Like I said, especially after coming from the Willett, it's just it's just too much contrast for me.
Well, yeah, of course, but I would say this is like, it's like a hakushu, but like knocked down, like few grades.
Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. That's an insult too.
Hakushu is like way lighter, in my opinion. It's not.
This is lighter.
Really? Maybe my memory is just serving me incorrectly. It's been a while since I've had it because it's so hard to find these days.
This just feels like, the Jameson that we had last time, where the flavor was okay, but it felt really artificial.
Yeah.
This tastes very artificial just to emulate like what Japanese version of Scotch is.
Okay. Yeah.
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's not bad. It's not something I would pick up on a normal time, but it's not bad.
Anyways, I'm moving on to the Four Roses. And like the reason why I picked all these bottles are like the purple is the Great Gambler, right?
Yeah.
The Hakushu is the hood, the origin hood.
Not hakushu.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Matsui Peated.
Yeah.
Because of the Great Wave, right?
Yeah. And
then Four Roses.
So technically, I picked them in the right order.
Yeah.
You guys are complaining about my order pick.
I didn't complain. Hoeun did.
Technically speaking, I picked them in the right order without knowing that I picked them in the right order.
Yeah, exactly.
I still disagree.
Okay. But either way, well, I only say I disagree because one of you fucked up the perfect marketing opportunity for Four Roses by having 5 roses. And I blame you because you're the only one that didn't come over from Risky Devil.
Oh, hey! I mean, it's not my fault.
No, I'm not saying it's your fault, but I'm saying you're the one who fucked it up.
Yeah,
he's not saying it's your fault. But he's definitely blaming you for sure.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. You can just pick somebody to kick out. Pick the one to get kicked, gets kicked out.
But I mean, like, I'm not going to get into the story of Proceed and Grip Gambler and all that because you already talked about that on Palmer's podcast, kind of. And if anyone wants to listen to it, listen to the Goodest Cast.
There you go.
It's good. It's a long listen, but I thought it was worthwhile.
You can learn about my love for West Coast rap.
G-Funk?
Mm-hmm. That's what you can learn about. And my love for R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Sorry. Whatever.
Dude, oh god.
Hate if you want to hate.
It's a bit problematic, so I'm not gonna get into that. So let's get into like final bout and like how you and Ilya came up with. Is it just you and Ilya, or?
Yeah, I mean, so it used to be at the beginning of it. The concept it was myself, Ilya, and then both Phils, Philly Pop and Phil Lee.
Okay.
Or well, same person.
No, that's Lee, the same Phil.
Philly Pop and Phil Prescott, I should say.
So 2L and 3L.
Yeah, 2L and 3L. But yeah, it generally, so like there's kind of like multiple facets to it, I guess. Like obviously, like Club of Fire, everything, we had our normal events, and we like at some point in time, like, we started Club of Fire when drifting was like new and like it was on the rise, right? Like everything was kind of going up in terms of that. Drift Association and the West Coast was doing their thing. Then the East Coast was doing their thing with Club Loose. And then Texas started doing their things a little bit. And, whatever, drifting was doing its own thing. And then things started slowing down a little bit, like just because, I don't know, there just wasn't a lot. Because one problem is obviously like US Air is far, and like that was really the only place we were doing events at that point. Versus at the beginning we were doing tire rack and all this other stuff, right? And then so we started like losing out on events a little bit here and there. Sometimes we'd have to cancel because we weren't getting enough people because nobody wanted to drive to US Air. So then we started doing Automass. I can't remember if Automass or Club of Fire Jam first came. I want to say we did Automass.
Automass was first because I was still there in Chicago.
Yeah, so we did Automass, and that was kind of like we were like, all right, yeah, things are kind of slowing down a little bit here. We need to like figure something out. And like TF also obviously wanted to like do something bigger, so we were able, and like we've always wanted to do something in Chicago or close to Chicago, right? But like financially, it was not an easy thing to do without. Because all of our events were not for profit. We weren't doing anything. We didn't collect any money. We were breaking even on purpose, that type of thing. So like putting an event on Chicago requires capital. And like luckily TF was just like, yeah, obviously they had money and they were like, fuck it, let's do it. So we did that, and like that helped start gaining new drifters. Like now if you ask a lot of these younger kids, like maybe not the super young ones, but like the ones that are in their mid-20s, they'll probably say Automass is how they learned about drifting, right? So we did Automass, and like then we started getting back to normal events, bigger events. And then like we started doing No Star Bash first, which was basically a combination of Drift Indie and Club of Fire, just like came together like to do like one big giant event. We did a couple of those, but eventually we kind of stopped doing that just because we didn't want to like work, necessarily with them anymore, just in terms of they were doing their own thing and we were doing our own kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then we did Club of Fire Jam. And Club of Fire Jam was just something big we wanted to do, and like we were able to get
Matsui or like the event, right? Or not the Matsui.
Yeah, Matsuri. Yeah.
Matsuri, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
and
this
like
Matsui's like fucked me up.
It's clearly. So yeah, we did that, and that we got the Hot Boys because like a lot of like like Josh and Chob were really good friends with like the Hot Boys guys, because like Eric Zaputo and a couple other guys, they were like good friends with them. Mm-hmm. So we were like putting on this event where we got Breaking to come by, and then obviously we got Hot Boys to come by. So we put on that event, and that was kind of like one of our first bigger events, I guess you could say, where we got a bunch of people, like we got people from Canada to drive all the way to US Airport, right?
Well, so where in Canada?
So most of them are not BC, but Calgary. They're all Alberta.
Shit, that's far as fuck.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So Jack drove his Cressida, or not Cressida, his JZX 81. He had an actual JZX 81. He drove that all the way here. The shit broke like halfway, but he fixed it and all that kind of shit. And like the other two trailer, like there was a Jordan with his Miata, and then Eric and his S13. So like they drove all the way out here. So we're like, oh shit, that's cool. Like we got some people that wanted to come out. And like in America at the time, people weren't really traveling aside from doing Formula D or like a Pro-Am like for Formula D.
Yeah.
People didn't really travel for events.
Just did your regional events.
Yeah, exactly. So like at that time, Ilya was like getting like deeper into drifting as well, because like he, obviously he was doing IND at the time, and he had his FC and he was really into it. And like Ilya has like a very good like business mindset in terms of things, and like he also was starting to see, obviously we were, Club of Fire had been struggling a couple of years before, and like drifting was kind of starting to go too deep into Formula D. But like Chicago was or the Midwest was very heavy on teams. Like we had Grip Gambler, there's Risky Devil, Hot Boys were coming, Breaking was coming. There's all these teams, and we were just like, something that Ilya was just like, well, you know, like obviously what got him into drifting was like the team aspect, right? With Risky Devil and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, he kind of came up to us with like ideas and kind of were just like, we should do a big team event because that's what we think drifting is, right? Team and style. So like I think we all met at one point. Well, actually, I think Ilya and I met at first, and we're just like, wonder if we can put a team event. So we like literally wrote down every team name that we could think of in the US that we generally knew based on social media at the time. And I think I still have that list somewhere sitting around somewhere. But like we just wrote down a bunch of names and like kind of put that together. And then like that day we just started calling people. We're just like, hey, we're thinking of doing this. We're gonna do this event. We've heard you're a team. Like there's a lot of people we didn't know, right? Like we're just like, we found their numbers or whatever. If we did know them, asked for phone numbers, blah blah blah. And just everyone was just like, that sounds really cool. So like we had a bunch of people that were like, yeah, we can make it. So like we got a bunch of people from Cali, Florida, Texas, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then we just put on the event.
Yeah, man. Like when I saw like that you guys were putting on that event,
being a fucking thing.
No, dude. Like when I saw that you guys were putting on that event at US Air, I was like, holy shit, this is really happening. And then I'm like, no, this is not happening. Like everyone's gonna back out last minute. And then after I saw the pictures and it was real, I was like, holy shit, it actually happened.
Yeah.
And then like you guys started going to like events, doing it everywhere else. I was like super impressed.
Yeah, like it was just one of those like, you know, we just called everybody and just like, listen, like we all like generally speaking have a similar idea of what we think drifting is. And Formula D, like if you looked up drifting in America at the time, it was Formula D, right? And like Formula D at the time kept getting what year? I can't recall when Tokyo Drift came out in this whole timeline, to be honest.
Oh, I'm gonna Google this.
I don't know at what point.
I just remember watching it at Streets with you, Wartman, and John Ems.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I definitely remember watching it, but I can't remember at what point.
2006.
I'm googling it.
It had to have been newer than 2006 or 7, right? I think
2006.
2006, really? So it came out way early.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like.
It was like the summer. It was like the
was
summer.
Was that Fast and Furious or was that Tokyo Drift?
Tokyo Drift.
Wow.
Okay. Tokyo Drift came out the summer. You guys had like both painted your cars purple. Like the summer I met you guys.
Okay. Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. We all saw it at Streets together.
Then like it didn't really affect Chicago that much, to be honest,
because we had already gotten it. We already knew about it before Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, well, you would think with that movie that we would have like gained more popularity and drifting, I guess, but it really didn't do anything. Like it didn't because really
everyone was like, "Where the fuck is Paul Walker and Vin Diesel?" That's what everyone was thinking.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so like. Yeah,
but like for us, we're like, dude, like Tosh is in the fucking movie, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's like a different. We had a different connection to the movie than the average public because we knew people like in the movie.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and we knew I knew Benson was, or not Benson, but Nadine was like one of the stunt drivers and shit like that, right? Like
it's a different connection.
Yeah.
But was there a lot of drifting in Tokyo Drift?
Yeah, that was the best driving movie. Like in terms of driving one? Oh, well, the like Fast Five was pretty dope too. With the bank vault.
The theme of drifting, I feel like even though it was named Tokyo Drift, there wasn't really much drifting.
It was there was, but there wasn't. It was Hollywood, right? Like so, you know, Hollywood. Like I'm sure if I ask a fucking cheerleader how realistic is Bring It On, they'd be like, "Fuck, that's way off," right? Like I'm sure if I asked them like a Marine. And name any countless fucking like Marine movie. Is this what it's like? It's like, no, what the like what? Exactly, it's the same thing, right? Like drifting was in the title, but like it was Hollywood drifting. So like there really wasn't that. There was a little bit like
the driving.
What they were doing was drifting. Yeah, but like realistically, 90% of car movies have drifting in them because it's more exciting to watch a car go sideways through an intersection than it is to watch them just drive straight through an intersection, right? Like, so it was no different than like any car movie. It was just.
I guess for me, Tokyo Drift You know, like it had scenes of drifting, you know, like into the whole, you know, like this intersection thing and all that.
Yeah.
But it was just like it wasn't more
Wasn't realistic.
Yeah, it wasn't any like structured drifting by any means.
No, like
It
the
was
whole
just, like-
parking lot thing is like that's not a thing. Like
I
that
just
has
didn't understand
never
why
been
they
a
were
thing and
racing
never will be a thing.
by drifting. Like that's like the slowest way to do it.
Yeah,
It just
that's
made
the
no
whole
sense,
thing. They
like,
weren't
logically.
drifting; they were racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
yeah,
it,
yeah,
guys?
Yeah. Like
I mean,
like it made no
Sucha wasn't
sense.
it?
Yeah.
Exactly. And like clearly, like I mean, I don't speak Japanese, but I understand Japanese a little bit. But when you read the subtitles versus what he's actually saying,
Oh, is it completely different?
Oh, it's completely different. Like they say something like he just says that's bad drifting, but realistically he's saying he's saying a much longer statement that has nothing to do with like that type of thing.
It's Hollywood, so they're not
he's
going to put
saying
nuance in the
something like-
translation.
Yeah, it says something like that was a terrible entry or something like that, but then it just says that wasn't good. It's just like no,
Yeah.
and like you know, like my watching of option videos, I like know what
Yeah.
some terms are, but like I was like that's not right. But anyways, but yeah,
It's like if you watch enough
Yeah, I guess-
anime, you understand like baka means stupid, right? Like, it's just like one of those things.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and like you clearly know what he said is not anywhere near what he said.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting that Tokyo Drift didn't affect. So to be honest, the one thing that did affect drifting more sad. This is sad. Is Ken Block. Ken Block is what
Gymkhana.
introduced the world to drifting.
That's true,
Even
man. You
though
got like
it's
20 something
even
million
hard.
views, right, per video or
Yeah.
some shit. That's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, from like an event perspective, from whenever if I ever had to approach a track that doesn't know anything about drifting at the time, like not everybody generally knows, especially tracks, but like back then,
I remember
when we were
like
going to new venues, they would always be like, "Oh, you mean like Ken Block?" And it's like, "Yeah, I guess, sure, all right, I guess that makes
Yeah,
sense."
but to be fair,
like,
before that, it was just exactly like the guy in Tokyo Drift. Drift was
Yeah.
Drift.
exactly, yeah, but like most people that own racetracks are too old to ever watch Tokyo Drift, so
Yeah.
they never watch it. But Ken Block is like a YouTube video that somebody was just like, "Yo, check this out." Like, and they would watch it, right? Like it's 10 minutes on YouTube and you would watch it. So like that's why that's probably the biggest drifting video, unfortunately,
Right.
for the masses, I should say.
Yeah, that's true. But anyways, let's get onto this Four Roses, man. Let's like wrap this shit up.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. This
I
Four
have a
Roses.
crown. I'm using a Crown Royal glass, which is odd, but that's
Nice.
all right.
I mean,
Hey, wait, is this the regular Four Roses or is
Just
this
the regular
different?
bottom bitch Four Roses.
All right. Just making sure.
it tastes like Four Roses flavored water.
I was gonna say yeah, it's watery Four Roses to be. After drinking the good stuff, it just tastes so watery, but it's good.
Is the good stuff that much better?
Like once it's like concentrated, like because this tastes kind of watered down. It's 80 proof, you know.
Did you finish off the Willett, Simba?
No, I still have a little bit left. I left some for my future taste.
Yeah, you can also just like compare them back and forth, like
Definitely
Willett between the
have a
Four
couple
Roses.
drop
Yeah.
after this.
Okay, yeah.
But the
Willett
Four
was
Roses
definitely
that I was
different.
talking about with Phil and Hoeun last time, like whenever we got to that Club of Fire event this year, I think in October or whatever. I'll
Yeah,
bring
you're
it
gonna
out.
bring
We'll,
some?
we'll have it. Yeah,
That'll work.
But
I'm
yeah,
in for that.
we gotta make sure Rob comes out for that because he said he wanted to see his dad anyways, right? So
Yeah. I mean, he pops out he comes over like for like quick trips sometimes just to see his dad, and then he kind of disappears. But yeah, hopefully he'll
hopefully
come
we
out for
time it
that.
right with COVID
Sure.
and everything. You never know.
I mean, it depends who you listen to, right? Like some things, obviously, supposedly we'll have all of our, everyone will have the chance to get a vaccine by May, June. My birthday is in June, so if I can get a vaccine by June, I'd be a happier camper. But
Well,
we'll see.
I mean, I think like realistically, their target is by late summer, so the kids can go back to school. Like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what like the focus really
So
should be built
we'll
around.
see.
I mean, I'm also going to Hawaii
Yeah.
over Christmas, so I'll see Robin in December anyways. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah.
I
mean-
personally think the vaccine should revolve around me.
Yeah.
I'm going to Korea. I think I'm going to go to Korea in May.
Do you still have
So I
to
just
quarantine for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Korea's still doing that.
Maybe I could argue that if I have the vaccine, be like, "Yo, listen, look at the
Yeah.
vaccine card."
I'm actually very curious about that because I know all the like things that they're doing, right? But like, I'm curious if if they will take a vaccine card for international travel. I'm very curious
Maybe.
about it because as of right now, it's like what's Korea's present vaccine situation? Are they like rolling it out, or are they just like
They
not?
just
They don't
started.
care.
They just
Okay.
started like this week.
Okay, so Japan is similar too. Japan's pretty late, which like every time I speak to somebody about Japan, like their optimism, and same with Canada too. Their optimism for like this is like don't come here for another year, like just stay the fuck away, right? Like, but that's and that's because like yeah, what the fuck?
Nice.
That's my cat.
And that's probably because obviously the vaccines are a little bit like later, I guess. But yeah, I wonder if they'll take a vaccine card.
Korea has a very strict rules in place right now. So like
yeah, I heard about that, which works.
Yeah, which makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
So like I think off the bat you have to quarantine for 2 weeks at a designated like place or whatnot, and afterwards
but it's of your choice, right?
Well, depends on the situation, but like they make you download an app, and if you leave the boundaries of that quarantine, they will fine you and kick you out of the country.
That makes sense.
Like they're pretty
I get works well. So like I guess then here's the problem, right? Like the vaccine doesn't mean you can't carry it, technically, right?
Right.
It just means you won't get sick. So technically speaking, the vaccine doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of like, well, okay. So I think, even unless if they're all vaccinated, I guess that's the only time that they're gonna start allowing people in without quarantine is if they're all vaccinated. Then they're like, I don't care what the fuck you guys do.
They'll be like, oh, you're vaccinated. Oh, here's the 14 days quarantine.
Yeah.
So
I mean, logically, I would assume that's what's gonna occur.
I don't think we said it for the show, but Simba, I know in conversation and Hoeun, you in conversation, we all talked about like our COVID story, like how like it just came into like our consciousness. When was like the first time you heard of COVID, Simba, or like when it first came like apparent to you, like this could be an issue?
The first time I heard it, or the first time that I thought it could be an issue?
Both, I guess.
The first time I heard it, I didn't think it was going to be an issue.
Yeah, both.
The first time I heard it was like, I think the first time I heard it was like early January. Like I heard about a virus that was happening, over in China, and I was like, all right, that's, whatever. Hopefully it's all good. The first time it started becoming an issue was I went to, well, not just myself, but we went to Whistler to go snowboarding in February. And I recall, like at the time, America was still like, there's no cases in America, there's no cases in Canada, don't worry about it. But like, it started becoming an issue because one of the people that went with us was super paranoid about it. They were just like, should we be wearing masks on the plane? Should we, all this kind of shit? And we're like, nah, you don't have to do any of that shit. We should be good. There's no cases here, right? And then like when it started coming, like maybe about a week before the flight, we started getting texts from the United or whatever the airline, right? Have you been to China? Have you, like, you can't have been to China. If you've been to China, don't come on this flight. Like all this, do you know anybody that's been from China? Have you, like all this shit. And I was just like, damn, you're really sending a lot of text messages for this shit. And we're just like, And then like, I remember one of the people that was with us, they got sick like during our trip and they were just like, shit. And like, I was like, like they got like, they were like coughing or whatever, like nothing like bad, but like, it was on our way out and we're like, it's like, are people going to be looking at us funny? And there was like a very small, like Vancouver has a lot of Asians, a lot of people from China, all that kind of stuff, right? So there was a pretty large sum of people that were wearing masks in Vancouver. And we're just like, should we be wearing masks?
Yeah.
Like, what's
That's
going on here? Like, and then eventually, got back and like still at the time, everything was fine. And then like, then finally at whatever was it? Was it the Pacific Northwest, Seattle or something?
Yeah, Seattle.
Got the first case?
Seattle, yep.
Or somewhere in that area?
Seattle.
I can't remember.
That's where it got issue. But Chicago actually,
because I remember the hospital and like all that, and like I think one of my friends was at that hospital or worked at the hospital. But like even then, like I went to Texas on March 1st, like literally would have gotten back from Texas like today, last year, and like even with that, even at that point, it was kind of like, you don't have to wear masks, you're good, blah blah blah, everything is kind of fine. We're all good and everything was fine. Then we went to California on March 15th, or the weekend of March 15th, like around St. Patty's Day weekend. And like, even then it was still like on my way. I was like, nah, it's just COVID. Like it's not. There's only a couple cases, you're fine, and then like every day it got worse and worse and worse, and then finally the day before the event, like it was an all-out shit show. Like all the water was gone, all the toilet paper was gone, everything was fucked, and like I was just like shit. And then we had to decide what we did for final bout, and we had to like get rid of all spectators and refund all of our tickets and all that kind of shit.
Oh, wow.
That's
that was
crazy.
yes.
That's insane, dude.
But that's probably when it got the most real, is literally like while I was in California, like trying to host an event, and it was just like, oh shit, it's getting worse, it's getting worse. And then got back home after that trip, and my work was just like, come get all your stuff and stay home. And that's it.
Yeah, dude, this is a crazy.
Yeah, and I've been home since. Haven't left my house since.
I have not left my house since the day that it was announced Rudy Gobert had contracted coronavirus.
Oh fuck, I forgot about that. That was the big thing.
Yeah, the whole
He it was a basketball player that like was fucking around and like saying, it was at the time when nobody was taking COVID serious. So I think he started like touching microphones, like playing around, playing jokes and shit. And then like 2 days later, I have contracted COVID.
He was the first case in the NBA. Yeah, and he shut down the NBA, and then that was the first domino that fell to shut down the entire world.
Literally, yeah, because he wanted to play games. Yep. Oh, that fucking guy.
That was all a joke.
I mean, we all not. I never thought of it as a joke. I never joked like that, but.
No,
well, no. Actually, no. I lied. We did take it as a joke because the Special Stage West, in California, that event, this wasn't fully because we were trying to find water, right? So because we have to get water for our staff, blah blah. Couldn't find it. Went to Costco, blah blah blah, and then it was just like fuck it. You know what I can find? I can find Coronas. There's plenty of Coronas in fucking Costco. So we bought Coronas for all the attendants that were at the event, and like that was the end of the event thing. That we're just like,
well, that's like that's in COVID, good nature, though. Like that's fine. Like it's harmless.
Yes, you know yes. Yeah, it was one of those just like since Corona took away our event from being normal, we're giving you guys all Coronas. Like here you go.
Here you go.
Everybody got a Corona.
And here's the thing I don't understand about white dude. Here's the thing I don't understand about white people. Everyone fucking panic bought toilet paper. If you were Asian, you'd just been smart and be like, we have a fucking bidet. We don't need this shit.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a shower in my house. I have modern plumbing. What the fuck is this panic over for?
That's
white people are so crazy, dude.
It was insane. The panic, like, Jesus, so bad.
Earl, do you have bidet at your place?
No, but I also never ran out of toilet paper.
I'm surprised. I wish I had a bidet. I want a bidet.
I'm getting but I remember in the new house, I'm getting all the heated bidets. Every single bathroom, heated bidets.
You could just get one right now.
Just the seat. Just get the seat.
No, but then I don't have the outlet to like heat up the seat heater and like the water heater. That's why I want to wait till I move into the new place.
Have an outlet in your bathroom?
Actually, mine is very similar. Yeah, mine is the same situation because I was going to also do this exact same thing.
Yeah, you have to plumb the wire all the way through.
Outlet.
That's what we did actually.
Yeah, you know how far my outlet is all the way on the other side of the bathroom?
Man.
Exactly.
Just extension cord.
No, it's ugly.
It's so bad.
We got extension cord and we routed the wire along the mirror.
That's what I'm saying. American houses are not.
We made sure the extension cord was white.
American houses are just not set up for this.
I was just like, because I was so upset. I was like, every year I go to Japan, you use them, and I'm just like, damn, I should really get one of these. Yep. And then I came to this room and I was like, fuck, I can't. The power switch is all the way over there.
Yep. Or you have to like route it like along the wall above the ceiling and all the way back. You know what I mean? So like it's just
exactly.
Just put a hole on your sink because typically the outlet's right next to the sink. So just put a little downward hole.
But my sink is across from the toilet.
Oh my goodness!
Which is why I'm saying I have to route it all the way over.
Yeah.
Well then.
You see what I'm saying?
Mine is Like my bathroom is fairly big.
Yeah.
And like the sink is like a good 8 feet away from the toilet, if not more.
Just make sure you route the extension cord through the shower. Just make sure.
All right, there we go. That works. That works. That'll keep me warm. That'll really keep me warm.
Anyways, let's review this Four Roses, shall we?
What's there to review?
I give me the tasting notes first of all.
It's delicious to me. I like Four Roses.
I like it. It's great. I think this is like a great
I
base
love
for
Four
any
Roses.
bourbon-based cocktail,
True. Yeah.
and it's super
Not
cheap. It's like,
expensive.
it's
It
like
already
18
tastes like a
bucks.
cocktail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Four
It's
Roses.
really, yeah. I mean, like, because most people think whiskeys just burn, right? Like,
Yeah.
but this one is pretty easy to get into
Oh,
and just
yeah.
drink.
This is like the entry level, but if you really want to just like sip on whiskey or sip on a Four Roses, I recommend the small batch or the single barrel.
Mm.
The small batch select is like something that small batch select is what I would use as like a base for like a really good cocktail, because like it holds up really well, because it's like it's 104 proof, so it's a bit stronger, so it holds up really well in a cocktail when you start diluting it.
I see.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to try it if I can find it.
Yeah, so Four Roses, I get like some oak, like that wood smell.
It's a very like quintessential like bourbon
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah, and in like it's a little bit light and it's thin, you can tell, because it's like their yellow label of 80 proof. It's just like their well stuff.
What would you rather have, this or Evan Williams? Not the bottle and bond, just regular.
I to be honest, I haven't drank much of the black label, so I would have to say Four Roses by default.
It tastes like watered down bottle and bond, the white label.
Then I'd have to try them side by side. This is like more, it feels, because it's OBSV, right? It's a bit higher rye content. Yeah.
So is that the standard? Just
yeah, the
Four
standard.
Roses black.
Yeah,
OBSV?
OBSV is their recipe.
I see. I didn't know that.
So it's a bit higher rye, so it's a bit spicier than like the Evan Williams. It's just a different kind of flavor. So that's just my opinion, but like that's just like getting to like the whiskey like nerd like weeds.
Yeah, when I just shove my nose in it and it doesn't burn my senses, I know it's not a strong whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Simba, were your Zimbabwean parents as strict about getting grades as my Korean parents?
So the thing is, I was a fairly good kid in terms of grades without being pressured up into the suburbs. Ironically, so like everybody always talks about CPS is like bullshit, blah 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 blah. Like, I was fine. I read. I loved to read as a kid. I did actually pretty good in school, and I was never pressured for any of that stuff. And like it was all like my parents didn't have to like say, "Oh, we'll buy you this if you do this." Like none of that like happened. So I did pretty well in school for the most part. When I got to the suburbs, started kind of slacking off a little bit. But like
you can get way more trouble in the suburbs than you can.
I learned how to like not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's like in the city, it was just like I couldn't really go anywhere. Like I could play like on my block, and that was it. Like you couldn't really like travel very far because you knew like bad shit happened 2 blocks away, like that type of thing. Versus like in the suburbs, fucking hop on a bike and I rode from Morton Grove to Old Orchard just for the fuck of it, right? Like so, I spent more time doing that type of shit. Like, but like when I got older, it's probably the grades never really like slipped, but like I definitely tried less. But it was also easier in the suburbs. I don't know.
Gotcha.
It was kind of easy to like put in like 60% effort and get 80 or 90% for a grade.
Well, to be fair, like
kind of thing.
No, I mean I don't know about at Maine East, but like Stevenson was pretty competitive. So like you could get straight A's and still be on the bottom half of your class.
Yeah, that sounds a little extreme.
Yeah.
No, because if you're like an all like remedial, you're
I know that I was just right at like 50th percentile at Stevenson.
Yeah.
And I had average, my GPA was like 3.2, 3.1.
Okay.
So
either way,
pretty much what
a B average
around there.
A B average is the average, which is insane. Because like, what's the point of a curve?
True.
If the B is the curve.
Yeah.
Like, why do you even have a C?
That's probably why maybe it was easier to explain. Yeah. And that was kind of why maybe it was easier to explain to like my parents. Because I think I was like 3.2, 3. Like there was like maybe one semester where I overachieved in my junior year. I think I got like 3.9 or some shit. I don't know what the fuck happened then, but then everything fell apart the other year.
Dude, there was one
But it
semester I
worked
graduated,
then.
or one semester I got like a
But, you know.
1.9. And the only reason I had a 1.9 is because like I was in honors classes, so it weighted up.
Oh my god!
I
Did you
mean,
go to school?
also you
Sophomore year, I kind of skipped half
you
of it.
didn't really go to
Yeah, that's true.
school.
I mean, like high school was. I knew high school was a fucking joke, so I didn't. I treated. it
I
as a
know
joke.
Okay,
this
that's,
because I've
okay,
seen
that's
him
the
do
only
it.
way to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, like in college, like in engineering, right, I graduated with like a 3.2 or
Look,
whatever.
all I
right?
know is that
Jesus.
all I know is that at Earl's wedding, yeah, I had to say something as one of the best men, best man, and what I said was I didn't think Earl would survive out of high school. Literally, like alive, breathing.
It's true. Things could have taken a very different
Oh
path in
my
life.
God.
Right? Yeah, it's true. Most people that meet me nowadays think like
it was
I'm
very
quiet.
odd standing there.
Yeah. I mean, most people that meet me nowadays, like, because I'm pretty quiet, like, and I'm like a dad, they think I'm like some kind of way, but they don't realize like in high school, like, you know, like I could have ended up, you know, in jail and dead, right?
You were definitely one angry kid.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still an angry dude, right? But like, at least I know how to be productive with my time and that anger. Sometimes.
Yeah, that works.
Sometimes.
That works.
Yeah. Anyways, Simba, I think we've gone well over time. I told you we'd be done by 10:30. It's 10:40 in my time.
Oh yeah.
I have
10:37
one quick question.
specifically.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
I know this
What's
sounds ridiculous to ask after the whole conversation that we just had. I guess what makes drifting? Because I'm quite confused in this. Is like what's the difference between drifting and let's say like power sliding versus like just general oversteer versus like, you know, like is there a factor that makes drifting rather than not?
It's yes. There's kind of like two parts to it. So like from a on paper technical standpoint, like in comparison to like drifting versus, you know, power sliding, I guess it's not just about driving in and like as Bow Wow would say, or Shad Ma, however, whatever you want to call them, powering over, right? Like that's just like doing a thing. But like drifting, there's a different type of initiation. There's several ways to initiate, right? Like you can either like throw the car in and like just get the rear weight to just swing out,
Right.
but you can do it various different. Like from a technical standpoint, like that side's different, and then there's the transition. Like powering over is easy; anybody can do it. You just floor it and it'll do it. But like, what do you do when you get to the next corner? You got to like flip it around and switch it, right? Like, so that's that part of it. But the other part, and that's probably more the part that Finalbot, for example, trying to stresses on, is like it's kind of a culture, like in the sense of like, you know, whether it's the team aspect of just like, or just like being, you know, like the camaraderie side of things and like the style side of things, you know, it's supposed to be, to me, it's a spectator sport. It's supposed to be something interesting and something cool to look at, like not just like, it shouldn't be, you know, numbers. It's not a numbers game. It's not a technical aspect. It's not something that should be measured on a computer. It's like, if you're watching it and if you're like jaws not dropping and saying, oh shit, that's dope, that's not drifting, basically, even though you might be doing it from a technical aspect, right?
So
so that's the other side of it, and that's more personal.
That's more of a philosophical debate. Like, what do you believe is drifting, right? Like, because in reality, drifting is It's you.
Yeah, that's why I
you,
kind of broke it into like two things.
Yeah, it's basically it's car control, right? You initiate the car to oversteer, and you control that through the corner or through the series of corners. That's what drifting is on a technical level.
Yeah.
But like what Simba talking about with the second part is more of a philosophy. Like because like drifting started a certain way in Japan, and that's what we fell in love with, and that's kind of what I think Final Bout wants to carry the torch with, right?
I see. So it's like speed skates versus like figure skates, where there's like nuances and art form to it.
Yeah,
that's true in a sense, because like figure skating as a competition is more, the fucking outfits are a thing, right? Like that's part of it, and
There's like
like
style points and there's like art
yeah,
points and
exactly,
technicality
yeah.
still.
Yeah, the music that's on makes a difference and all that type of shit, right? Like it like you can't just fucking put computer chips in the shoes and be like, okay, whatever the shoes are doing, that's what we need to do, right? Like there's so much more to it.
So that's what like Formula D or professional drifting is like. It's more like speed skating where it's like you have to, it's not timed per se, but like there's an objective goal and there's an objective like measurement, right? And that's not necessarily like what we fell in love with drifting in the first place.
Yeah.
What made you fall in love with drifting?
It's just fucking cool, man. That's my opinion.
I mean, for me, it was like,
I mean, curling's cool.
It was. I mean,
that's why I love it every 4 years.
Like, it was one of those things that like. So it started for me like when like literally like the story I was talking about earlier when Crab and Jesse took me to the spot and just like told me to do it, and I just did it, and like just it was like a giggling moment of just like, oh shit, this is fun, right? But then on top of that, like it was a combination of doing that and then going back to Crab's house and then like watching option videos, watching all these guys in Japan like figure it out and do their own thing and showing their style, and like that's the other part that made me fall in love with it, just like because at the time we didn't know it, but we were a team and we were like going towards that, and that's how Grip Gambler started. But like we were just like friends hanging out, and that's kind of like how most of what we saw in the option videos was. They were just friends hanging out and they just fell in love with it.
That's honestly how Risky Devil started too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to be honest, I think
hanging out and you're like,
yeah. I mean, I think before like I got in there, and if I remember this correctly, because I got a really bad memory, before I stepped in and corrected like what was going on, the name that was getting thrown around was Risk the Devil, and I'm like, no, that's just way too fucking long. Just make it Risky Devil, and just make it shorten it. Kind of like the Facebook just went to Facebook. I was like, you guys, it's 3 words. It's not like if you put it into a URL, it doesn't make sense. Just make it Risky Devil, and that's just kind of how the name kind of came about. Yeah, we just like put stuff in like we were thinking like, what is like a goofy English like team name that we could think of that shows that we're like about the streets, and then like kind of like we just don't give a fuck, right? So like we just kind of just randomly came up with that kind of shit because it's just kids having fun, right? Yeah. How did Grip Gambler come about? The name.
The name?
Yeah.
Crab. It's basically Crab. Like I mean,
I gotta have Crab on the show.
In a sense, you could take it. Yeah, you can take it literally, I guess, right? Like we do gamble with grit, and like it was just kind of it's that's all we're doing, right? Like that's the pure definition of drifting is you're gambling with grit. Because like the other part of it, right? Like in like the thing about drifting is most people assume that your goal is to get less grip, but the goal realistically is you got to get a lot of grip, because the more grip you have, the more control you have. So like you're literally gambling with it. You're like pushing yourself to the full limitation of the car of your grip levels. So you're gambling with it. So that's kind of where
that's what happened with the FD at Grid Life, man. Like, because it's changing conditions, right? Like when we exited that corner, when we spun, I was like exiting the corner at 90 miles an hour, and I hit like just like this tiny damp patch, and the car just came out.
And it was like a crested turn.
Yeah, it's so off camber on the crest,
that was lifted up.
Yeah. So like all the weight is like off that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the worst possible place.
Yeah, that was a sketchy little area. Yeah. It definitely.
Did you lift through that?
No, I stayed flat.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I stayed flat. I tried to correct, but I'm like, all right, I ran out of lock and the steering just got real heavy. So I'm like, there's no way I can correct it now. So it's just like, fuck it. I'm in for a ride.
Yeah.
And as soon as we hit that grass, that was like
being over. It's because it's wet.
Yeah.
So there was no stopping.
And 90 miles an hour.
It's wet and it's like in such a weird marsh. Yeah. And that's why like when the first time we did drifting there, like I went there because Chris from Grid Life. He was the one who was like, hey man, we're going to do this drifting thing, blah, blah, blah. So like we went up there to go test drifting. He was just like, can you go see if you can drift at Gingerman? So we did it, blah, blah, blah. And we went out there to test. It was like me and Josh, basically. But like the one thing that they told us, they're just like, listen, if you guys go off on this particular area, we're not coming to get you until the end of the day. So you need to either, I suggest you just don't drift it, but that's up to you guys. But if you go off, you're there until the end of the day because we don't have the time for this shit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what are you going to do, right?
We told people not to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a marsh.
Either way, like I made out ahead. It turned out fine, like financially. So like
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
yeah. And then
And we actually got towed out right away
Yeah.
instead of being
It
there
was
all
dope.
day.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
and
nice,
I
at
have it on
least.
video.
At
I'll
least
post
they
it. I'll post it later. I have GoPro footage
I
of
think
it.
I think I've
Nice.
seen. I think you.
Yeah. I
I've
think I
seen
posted
a
it once, but
long
I'll post
time
it.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. Definitely want to see that.
I think that's all I wanted to get to. Before we end, I gotta say I want you to get me in contact with what's his name from Grid Life, Chris. You say his name is
Chris? Yeah.
Get me in contact with him. We'll because so we can talk about the other thing that we've been talking about on the side with you, me, Phil, and Rob.
Yeah.
So like, hopefully we can announce that later this year, but it should be cool if it works out.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah, and so speaking of which, have you been following Top Shots at all? NBA Top Shots?
It's such a pain in the ass. So like
Yeah.
I've been trying to like get a pack. I finally got a pack. I pre-ordered.
Nice.
whatever
Yeah, the
fucking
pre-order, right?
99
Oh, nice.
pack.
We got it. We got that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
After fucking sitting on my goddamn computer for like 5 hours, that was shitty. But
I know.
so I have that. I bought one random moment just because I wanted. It was some Zach LaVine moment just for the hell of it.
ZL.
But like I haven't really paid attention. So I have it, but I haven't paid attention to what it's worth, if it's worth anything, or if it's changed.
Yeah.
I just said fuck it, I'd buy it because it looks cool.
So for the listener that is any listeners at home that has no idea what I'm talking about NBA Top Shots. It's basically NBA cryptocurrency. It's NFT or non-fungible token. So it's basically digital basketball cards, but non-fungible tokens just means it's like a unique type of cryptocurrency. So you can serialize things like digital art to prove like its unique ownership. And so that's like a space that I've been thinking about recently and how to get into. So just to foreshadow the things that Simba and I had just been talking about, NFTs will come into play possibly in the near future for what we want to do in terms of what Simba and I are talking about, but also what Hoeun and I have been talking about in terms of whiskey. So it's that's just a little bit of foreshadowing. Hopefully we can reveal more as things progress. But you know, if you're not paying attention to cryptocurrency, you probably should at least be paying attention, because there's no going back. Like you can't undo Bitcoin, right? Just like you can't undo the internet. So you might as well just try to understand it and see if it can apply in your life. And that's all I have to say about cryptocurrency. So.
Well, very true. That works.
Yeah. Anyway, Simba, I appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for the whiskey.
Yeah, and next time we'll have Rob Ryder on from Club of Flowers, so that should be a good time.
Yeah.
Whenever his whiskey makes it out to Hawaii.
He's probably drank it by now already.
No, I haven't shipped it out. So I haven't shipped it out because I'm super procrastinating.
Oh yeah, all right, yeah. I mean, I literally got mine yesterday, so I was just like, so I was gonna text you. I was like, Earl, I haven't gotten the whiskey yet.
No, because I shipped out Hoeun's last time, so I know it only takes a day to get there because your guys in Chicago. So I knew I shipped it out on Monday.
That works.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna ship out Phil's tomorrow before I leave for Texas for the weekend. So.
Oh, you're going to Texas?
Yeah, I'm gonna visit my in-laws. Amber's parents are in Dallas, and her sister's in Austin. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go visit them. Or we are. So.
All right. Say hi to Greg Abbott for me.
All right.
Governor Abbott for me.
Yeah, I will. I think I'm gonna go to Super Lap Battle. Yo, actually, Simba, send me Chris's number because I'm gonna go to Super Lap Battle and Grid Life this weekend at Coda.
Oh, they're doing that this weekend?
Yeah,
oh, shit, fancy.
So text me that number, yeah?
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, fellas. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
See y'all later. Peace.
I feel like, you know, just slightly more educated society is it's great. But besides that, to go back to what you said, I feel like there are many people that make ton of money very, very easily in this world. And of course, when you have more money, it's easier to make more money because you start leveraging the capital that you have, and the capitalistic society that we live in, it thrives on money growing itself, right? But at the same time, that was my whole notion, the thought process, for past, like, I would say like 5-10 years, is that, I'm working in this corporate job and I'm helping all these companies, expand their business. into US, and they, if it gets through, they're making like millions of dollars on this project, right? But like, what am I doing? Like, what do I have to be tied to like a paycheck or whatnot? So like, that's not to say that, oh, why don't you just go out and look, opportunities are everywhere. Well, opportunities are everywhere, but you have to make a lot of effort to see that opportunity, because it's not like, oh, there's opportunity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not like that. It's more of an enlightenment. It's like a light bulb moment. All of a sudden, it's like, oh shit, A and B could connect, and it could create C, which could be the opportunity of a lifetime. It's all derivative of the current surroundings and environment that you live in, right? So like, I feel like there are easier way to make money than most people think, but it's not easy to find them. But when you practice and train yourself to look for the opportunities that exist in your own environment, then you start seeing it. Start small, see if your idea works. If it works, then just gain some from it, and just rinse and repeat. You look for new opportunities that come by. And it's not like people have to quit their jobs to do it. Some projects may, but do the whole calculation of the risk versus reward, and you make that decision. I don't know, but yeah, people should remember that there are people out there make a ton of money doing absolutely nothing. Such little effort relative to like people who are slaving away at a kitchen or something like that. I mean, it's not equal. Unfair. It's orange and apples to oranges, and people who are making a ton of money would say it still takes a lot of effort. Yeah, absolutely. It's a different game, but slaving away in front of a grill for 15 hours a day it's a lot of effort for not much money.
No, that's actual work. What I do is it's labor, right? I'm laboring, but I'm not really working. I'm sitting at a computer all day, so I feel like bad complaining about like getting underpaid. Because like I just put it up on Instagram, like I get paid like almost 6 figures, just shy of 6 figures. And then people like, oh, some people are like, you know what, you're not underpaid, and like you shouldn't complain. And to that end, I say, you're right. As a human being, I should have more empathy. But on the other hand, like I don't think people understand like the toll it takes to like actually do my job. Like,
I would say you're underpaid.
Yeah, I mean, I manage 8 figures of revenue just on my product alone. And on top of that, like if there's any kind of failure or fault, someone could die. We could have a recall. It could cost the company like millions or billions of dollars, right? Like, and I'm the only person to do this job in the entire company. I took vacation for 2 days this week, and then by the second day there was a panic, and I checked my phone at like the airport at like noon because I was about to board the flight, and I'm getting phone calls, and I had 115 missed emails. Like I was in a panic, dude. And I realized like, yes, I think I really am underpaid then, because like if it's going to cause this much uproar, like then I think I deserve more money, because clearly there's no one else to do my job. So that's just my spiel. So like I don't really know how to feel about it as a human. Like I feel conflicted, right? Because now I know like the government has to just print stimulus money because people just don't have it because of the way our capitalist society is structured. And that kind of pains me, and I'd rather say like, you know what, if I could give up more of my taxes, I'd gladly do that, because what I do isn't real work. It's just labor.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not real work. What is real work and what's not real work?
There's no physical effort. I mean, I'm thinking about it as like, from the physics standpoint, there's no work exerted.
But by that logic,
or work done,
then physical labor should be the most compensated work. Then
it should be. Exactly.
But I feel like the compensation aspect, oftentimes we talk about like CEOs that that's paid millions of dollars, and when they like tank the company,
options though, it's stock options,
and when they tank the company, or like they do like the Wall Street things, whatever, and when they like walk away with like tens of millions of dollars of like parachute, that could be viewed as pretty fucked up, and that entire situation could be improved. for more responsibility and accountability aspect to it.
That's what that guy was hired to do.
But at the same time, you know, like when you're given a switch that you have to flip, and when you flip that switch, it affects a huge, you know, like aspect. There's repercussions that like go like bounds, you know, that's, you know, it's like you talk about your part alone that you manage. You know, it could result in people dying. It could result in like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in recalls. There is a lot of responsibility that's placed upon you. And I feel like people have to consider that aspect as well, because that is very stressful. And it may not be physical labor per se, but like, you know, when you're mentally challenged and you're mentally stressed, your physical body hurts too, you know? So there is definitely an aspect where I guess in our society at this point in humanity, we are valuing the mental stress higher as for compensation more so than purely physical labor. That's why there are, you know, different, you know, grades of payment, because at the end of the day, in the free market, your wage is determined by
What's
the labor
crazy
market
is like,
as well.
again, this is a society that says we value mental health, but we don't put our money where our mouth is, right?
US is very bad in that sense. You know,
Yeah.
we're not very good at addressing stuff like that.
I'm not gonna say we're the worst, but we could be better. For like a developed nation, we could be better.
As a society, I feel like a lot of, especially when it comes to healthcare aspect to it, we still have a very like Wild Wild West mindset where everyone for themselves, and you know, everyone has to like, you know, like fend for themselves through this you know, healthcare, you know, issues, you know, what the whole notion that, oh, I'm not hurting right now, I don't have any illness right now, why should I pay for this and that? At the end of the day, the reason that we should all pull that together is because of leverage. When it's a much stronger bargaining chip. When you gather everyone's needs and everyone's voice, and the amount of spending power that brings as a whole, that's a huge bargaining chip. Like, we could bring down the healthcare's cost like every other country that has like unified healthcare. And you, as people, we just have more leverage that way. But in the US, I feel like there's a lot of private insurance companies that hold a lot of that's blocking that power and providing like a divide between the government and the people's needs.
Dude, can I tell you something?
Sure.
So Amber's parents, right? I just saw them in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking get the fuck out of Texas and went to Florida during the whole snowstorm and shit. Because they're rich, right? They're like, we don't need this shit.
Yeah.
So they fucking booked, which is like good for them, I guess. But
it's good for them that they had the resources to do so.
Of course. But here's the thing. They're staunch Republicans. And this is what the discussion I had with them. I found out in Texas, the utilities are privatized. So there's 40 fucking different utility companies. And apparently some people had like $16,000 fucking utility bills because of the snowstorm. Amber's mom, she's very conservative. So she locked in the rate. And that's not something I would do. Because I'm like, why? Gas is historically cheap. That just seems like a dumb thing to do. So she got like $101 bill, right? And even her dad was like, no, you're right. Like, utilities should just be a public good. Like, why are we privatizing this? This is fucking insane.
It's a utility.
Yeah. Like, everyone needs electricity. Like, this is so stupid. Like, we didn't even know how to manage how to fucking pick a utility company when we first got here.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. I'd never heard of that before. But honestly, it's because of that, and because no one then has the incentive to invest in like worst case scenarios, which is why the shit happened in Texas. And because of global like warming and climate change or whatever, it's going to continue to get worse. These freak storms are not going to remain like 1 in 100 years. It's going to be 1 in every 20 years or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, they say once in 100 years now, but that's so far.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was pretty funny when I was at Iowa, we had a flood on campus.
I remember that.
Yeah. Well, the year
before sandbags, right?
Yeah. But year before the big flood, or a year or two before the big flood, there was, like smaller floods, and they're like, oh, it's like a 25-year flood, whatever. This is the 20-year flood zone, and they're like, oh, this happens every 20 years then. That's how I thought about it too. But no, like 2 years later, oh, now it's 100-year flood. It's like, where does it stop? It's it doesn't. That's the thing. It's changing.
Yeah.
And our data is
the
historical
reality,
data
yeah.
that doesn't reflect what might be changing.
Here's the thing: you can say it's 100-year flood, but we keep accelerating the amount of carbon emissions we pump into the atmosphere. So that's why these like so-called like it's growing on a logarithmic curve, right? Like it's going to be next time it's a 10,000-year flood and then 100,000-year flood.
Yep.
It's just not going to stop.
Like people have to understand that, you know, when phrases like that are thrown around, it's just purely in a historical context.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily for the future.
Here's as like an engineer who's actually worked on like greenhouse gas emissions, right? Like here's my 2 cents. I don't necessarily know if I can say climate change is man-made, but it's happening, and what we're doing is not helping.
Right.
So like, what is the point in fucking arguing whether it's man-made or not?
Exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, we could, you know, it's a philosophical question almost. Is it man-made? But it doesn't really matter what it was.
We have the power to reverse it, and yet we don't.
Yeah. I mean, and I personally believe that electric cars and
it's a stopgap.
That,
let's just admit it. It's a stopgap.
That, and it's a very good way for governments to look like they're doing something. Because at the end of the day, carbon emissions out of cars isn't that big, relatively speaking.
No, it's not.
Like compared to like agriculture, like like growing our beef or like shipping, like there are a lot of like
Korea is secretly the largest carbon emitter in the world.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, it's a huge manufacturing country.
No, but think about all the ships they make. Every single container ship in the world is made from fucking Hyundai.
Well, not necessarily.
But
container ships are made more in China these days.
Okay, but either way.
But Korea
compared to its size, right? It's a huge carbon cost.
Korea is the #1 shipbuilding nation in the world. And it's actually pretty interesting what's going on in the industry, because they're talking about electric ships, or because like solar, or even honestly, I personally think it should just be nuclear.
Yeah, it should. Because
it's like, think about it, like all the military ships are powered by nuclear. Yeah. Like shipping container ships, like they should be nuclear. I mean, I'm sure there are technical and political challenges to it, but at the same time,
safety and political.
But I mean,
it's not going to happen until we live in the world of Star Trek, where like we move on to like crypto 2.0, like I was talking about, where we just use like credits. Just like Star Trek.
How does that connect to the nuclear ships?
Oh, because at that point, it's a universal payment system, so everyone's money's on the line.
I guess I'm not necessarily following.
So unless you have universal currency, you're going to have people doing currency manipulation, and there's like incentives to like steal or like have terrorists, like whatever. But like if everyone uses the same currency, we're at the point in society I'm just thinking, like, assuming if we're all on a universal payment system, we have like at least some sort of like political peace where this could be potentially possible. But until like that happens, we can't even talk about nuclear ships.
Yeah, maybe. But it's very interesting how you bring that up, because I feel like you're alluding to a point where it's currency differences that's actually at the root of.
It's not at the root. I'm just saying it's a part. It's a part. It's a huge negotiating chip.
But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any like enough background knowledge to like have a valid opinion on this, but my invalid opinion on this, unqualified opinion on that.
Mine's unqualified too, man. What the fuck do I know?
But I feel like I'm just, for the listeners out there, they're just like, who are these morons talking about bullshit? We are a bunch of morons talking about bullshit, so take it as is. But I feel like, like if we operated on a single currency as a world, I mean, besides the totalitarian government, like global government that would be issued.
Why can't we just be completely decentralized?
I feel like people just don't know what that would be like.
We're doing it right now with coronavirus. Like no one's telling us what to do, yet we're somehow surviving. Barely, but we're surviving.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would disagree with that. I feel like there are people that would say government has more control than ever.
Sure.
During the corona time.
Sure. I guess, yeah, on paper, but it doesn't affect my life.
Yeah. I feel like people just do more, like people have learned to do more shit on their own, like just in their own terms.
I mean, really, what we're talking about is like libertarianism, really, right?
It could lead to that, yeah. But for one very like relatable aspect to us, I feel like would be speed limits on highways.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
unrestricted.
Well, dude, not
Texas
unrestricted.
Is wild.
I'm just at least in Illinois, like since COVID started, people just have ignored the speed limits on the highways. The average speed on the highway on I-94, it's like 95 miles per hour now.
Dude, Texas is the same way.
But Texas are they've been like that.
The highways are so good though.
Oh,
so
dude.
good.
It's so nice
it's
when you run.
It's scary, man. Like I was going through Dallas, and I was telling Jimmy from I want to say Jimmy Speaks World is his final chosen podcast name.
What is this?
He's got a podcast. He's like a drifter from Houston.
Oh, okay.
But
I wasn't sure if you were talking about Jimmy.
No. So not Jimmy Rim. Our phantom third co-host on occasion. But I was talking to Jimmy Yates from Houston, and he does like the knuckle up events from Houston. But I was like, dude, if like Risky Devil happened in Chicago, so one of us would have fucking flown off the highway for sure, and that would have probably been me. You know what I'm saying? Because like the highways are like 100 feet off the ground. They're super smooth. You can hit Texas? The corner. Yeah, you can hit them you can hit them at like 140 miles an hour in my car, probably, right?
Don't they have like it's like triple clover in their
yeah, and it's fucking scary. I'm like, dude, had I had the same car and situationally just thinking like had the same car but had grown up in Dallas, I would have killed myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do truly appreciate states that have good roads.
Oh yeah.
Because Georgia had fucking great roads. Like it didn't matter which border you came in, whether it's like the Tennessee border or the South Carolina border or whatever. As soon as you cross that border, Georgia highways are like almost like German highways.
So
right? German guys told me that. So
this is what I've heard from my father-in-law, who's always lived in the South, right? He says the reason you'll find better roads in the South is because basically every road is a toll road. So that pays for the roads. Because no one wants to feel like they're paying for taxes. So you tax them secretly by making them pay for tolls.
Wait, what states though? Because I feel like
Texas, for example, like Dallas had like every single time I got on a road, like a highway, it was like a toll road. Yeah.
Because
all
Georgia doesn't have that many toll roads.
Oh, Ohio too. Ohio doesn't have any money, but their roads are actually pretty nice.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because Ohio cops pull you over at the border.
Plus the tolls. It takes $20 fucking for me to get to Pennsylvania.
I don't
$20.
I could see the logic in that, and I am fully convinced by that logic too, except that Georgia doesn't really have tolls.
Do they have taxes?
I mean, they have like taxes. Like
how's their tax rate compared to like other states, and the allocation of taxes to road maintenance?
All I could say is that I paid about similar tax rates in terms of like income tax as Illinois. Okay. I don't know if that's actually true.
Okay.
But and I don't know how much of their taxes is allocated to the roads. I have no idea. But
what about gas prices?
Cheap as fuck.
Okay.
It's like the South, right?
So then I have two speculative theories, right? Either they allocated like an unreasonable amount to maintaining the roads, or two, because of the weather, they just don't have to maintain the roads, and because no one, outside of like Atlanta, who's really in Georgia, so those roads don't really get used.
I thought about that too until you go cross the border into like South Carolina, which has decent roads, but not as good as Georgia. It's noticeably different, and it's not like their weather is all of a sudden different either. Surrounding states of Georgia have bad roads, but Georgia is like a shining beacon.
All right, shout out to Georgia then.
All I know is that I ran into some like German engineers from that was sent to Spartanburg. Yeah. Because I was in Spartanburg a lot for work, and I was talking to them, and they were talking about how Georgia roads are just great. Like, and these guys are like, they were from Germany, dispatched for like a year or so. So it's not like they're these guys are German guys, and they're like, yeah.
But again, you also think situationally, like it's not just like the quality of the roads. Probably it's probably also like the geography, right? Like the topography.
But topography of Georgia,
or is it just the smoothness?
Just general smoothness, the condition of the roads. Even like on the highway, like how the rain gets like exited, onto the like the little. Yeah.
Okay. So you know what it is then? They just have
really well built.
They just have good civil engineers then.
Yeah, it's just very, very well built.
They have good civil engineers.
I whatever the reason is, props to Georgia.
Except for Atlanta, because I heard about that traffic.
Atlanta's traffic isn't as bad as people think it is. I just said it. I said that. Okay. People will hate on me for that, especially people from Atlanta. They're like, "Oh, we got the worst traffic." No, you don't. When you're on I-94. And it's only a 3-lane highway each direction. And you're when I go from like Deerfield, Buffalo Grove to downtown in like 30 minutes without any traffic, and it takes me 2 hours. Yeah. It's longer.
Dude, you know what the fucking worst is? So to people outside Chicago, there's basically 2 main arteries from the northwest suburbs. There's 90 and 94, and they merge. So like where they merge is just a huge fucking traffic jam. But maybe how far is Irving Park? Half a mile? A mile from the merge?
Yeah, barely. Not even like quarter
mile. One time I got stuck at the merge, like on the I'm on 94. I'm about to come down right before the merge. To get off to Irving Park took me fucking hour. Half a mile, dude.
See, that's crazy. Like people down in Georgia, down in Atlanta don't experience that. Yeah. Like first off, just overall flow of like number of cars, Georgia will put a whole lot more cars in the same time.
My Amber's parents were complaining about the traffic in Dallas, and I was like, "What do you mean? It's just congested. Like it's moving. Like I didn't have to slow down at all."
That's the thing. Oh, that's another thing. Georgia, like Atlanta traffic, they don't stop. Like you roll slow. But there were plenty times in Chicago where you're literally parked.
I've gotten out of my car and walked around on the highway before.
Like a lot of I think Chicago's highway system is actually pretty
good.
I don't know. I feel like Chicago could use a ring road that connects on the outer perimeter from like I-94 connects like to I-90. 294, then down to like 290, then 55. There should be a whole ring road.
But where do you build it? That's the problem.
I mean,
it's like a 200-something-year-old city. So of major cities, it's pretty good. I've yet to see major cities like that are better, that are as old.
Yeah, I mean Chicago. Don't get me wrong, Chicago's pretty great.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying. They could use a ring road. I'm not talking about like the feasibility of it, but it'd be great if they.
If we could fantasize, right? Like Chicago should technically, like Michigan should technically be an ocean, right?
I mean,
no, actually, I kind of want it to be a lake because of climate change. I take that back.
Oh, dude, I don't know how climate change will affect the freshwater supply in the future, but if Lake Michigan could be like kept as is. Or like the Great Lakes, let's say like put like a whole block on like the Hudson River part where the ocean water doesn't come in. Or I guess it flows out that way, so it doesn't.
No. If anything, the levels in the lake will get lower if the world actually gets hotter. But it's still the largest body of fresh water in
Yeah.
the world. And so therefore it becomes even more valuable real estate.
Yeah, like survival strategically to have like water source like that, fresh water source like that. I feel like it's quite valuable.
Yeah. That's why that Enbridge Line 5 is stupid as shit.
What's
There's a you know, in Lake Superior, like or like in Michigan, where like up the Upper Peninsula meets with the Lower Peninsula. There's an oil line that runs through it, and people
there's an oil line that runs through it.
Yeah, and people keep saying like in Michigan, it's like a big thing. Like they keep wanting to shut it down because it's like 40 years old, and if that thing ever fucking breaks and leaks into the Great Lakes, we're all fucked forever.
That seems like a unnecessary risk.
Exactly. But again, capitalism, baby.
Short-sighted capitalism.
Yeah.
Because
no, this is literally
that fresh water,
capitalism.
The fresh water will be worth a whole lot more in the future than oil.
Yeah, it's the whole philosophical question of what's more valuable, a cup of diamonds or a cup of water?
Yeah. People take water for granted, but we die without water.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could be without oil and still survive. We could be without diamonds. We could definitely survive without fucking diamonds, you know?
It's a joke.
But like water, like try not drinking water for 4 days. I dare people to, you know?
Even just one day, man. I get so dehydrated.
Yeah, dude.
I know I can like survive by getting water from like food sources, like watermelon, for example. But like to just not have a glass of water for a day is just like the worst fucking feeling.
It is. I completely agree. Like,
look, I'm drinking water right now.
Water literally equals life, as far as our knowledge goes. It is literally a platform for life. Is water.
So you heard it here first, guys. Water is a source of life, and the water of life is whiskey. So on that note, that's the end of today's show. So thank you for listening.
Wait, is this good? Is not even correlated to the actual episode?
No, but it feels like a good place to end.
It is.
Welcome to Spirit of Build, where today... Oh, wait, shit. What's the fucking tagline? I don't even fucking... Let me take a piss real quick. I'm actually really anxious, okay? I'll be right back. Welcome to Spirit of Build, everyone. Fuck, this is not it. God damn it, I was such a fucking idiot.
Just stop stressing out about adhering to that script. That's what is messing you up.
No, it's literally just the tagline, and then we can move on from there.
Then just fucking memorize it.
I'm trying to, but I don't have the time to commit to it. As crazy as that sounds.
That is the craziest thing I've heard all night.
I know. Because my thoughts are so scattered. I don't even know where to find where I wrote the goddamn thing.
Or just
it just
copy and paste.
It's taking me 5 minutes just to find the damn thing.
Just copy. Just use the clip from last week.
I will, but it's already messed up. It was already bad.
Look, I'm always for the laziest way out.
I get it. But I am a perfectionist.
Then fucking memorize it. Use your perfectionist skill.